All right. All right. We are live. Welcome, everybody, to another stream. Got my buddies here again. We are waiting for Durbin. Durbin, if you see this video, get over here, man. We're waiting for you, buddy. And unfortunately, Ramon was not able to join us. He had something come up. So we'll have to catch up with him again a little later. But welcome. We are going to get into the second episode of Loki, the variant. Can't wait to dig into this, jump in with you guys. Also, listen, if you are in the comments, make sure that you share your thoughts, your insights, because there is, I'm sure, stuff that we missed in this episode. But listen, before we go any further, I have to let my esteemed guests introduce themselves. We're going to start with Matthew, and then we'll let Stevie introduce himself.
Hello, everyone. Glad to be back again for another discussion for Loki episode 2. I have so many theories. I'm pretty sure these other guys have so many great theories too. Can't wait to talk about it. You can find me on YouTube at Matthew V. Haynes.
All right.
And hello, everybody. My name is Stevie Cade. I am on the channel Film Trigger. You can find me on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and even Vero. I do movie reviews, live watch parties, and and join people like this for shenanigans like these.
All right, and last but not least, we had to send out the posse for him. He showed up though.
I was actually rewatching the episode, and I went, "Oh, it's now."
Oh boy!
Well, just let the people know where they can find you. We're just doing intros, so you're good.
Oh, that's awesome. My channel is Durbania, the one and only with that name. So look that up. You'll find me. I do movie reviews. I rank movies. The most unique thing I do is theological analyses. And tomorrow, I'm going to go live on my channel and talk about Loki episode 2 because I've had a busy week and haven't even had a chance to talk about it. So this is my first time, and I'll be doing it some more tomorrow. So come join me.
Awesome. Sounds good. Shout out to the folks that are here. Shout out to General. See you in the chat. Shout out to Jimmy C in the chat as well, and Epstein's Ghost in the chat as well. So those of you all who are in the chat, please be sure to share your theories, insights, and all of that. We're excited that you're here, and we're going to listen. We're going to just jump right in. You can find the description for these guys. Their channel is in the description box below. Make sure you check them out and make sure you're following them if you are not. All right, so I want to lead this off by asking just overall thoughts about episode 2. And anybody just jump in, start us off.
I liked episode 1 better, but this is a good follow-up because of how it ends. And the way that it ends and the concepts that it brings up, like hiding in apocalyptic events, and the fact that the freaking TVA missed it, that's really interesting.
All right, I got to pause. Shout out to Kai, who just popped in as well. You see him in the chat. That is actually my BJJ instructor, one of my BJJ instructors. We will have Kai on the channel as well. I am so sorry to cut off the flow. All right, next person.
Oh, well, for me, I thought this episode was just as good as the first one. Like I've watched it twice now, tried to absorb a lot of information. I may have found some loopholes. I don't know. They kind of put a loophole out there that it seems like they may have caught it and rewrote something at some point in time, trying to cover it up. But all in all, it was like Durbin said, a good continuation from the second one. But I did enjoy it just as much as the first.
What do you think, Matthew?
I can't say I liked it better or didn't like it as much as the first. I think they're kind of on the same for me, just like Durbin said, a good follow-up. Like it's just a nice part 2 to part 1 expansion of the story as it should be. And I mean, there's just so much to unravel in this. Everything, so many theories about and I'm pretty sure we'll get into it, but so many theories about the ending and just the amazing revelation of the post-apocalyptic time bubble thing. Like that was just something that really stepped up the level of the show. So I mean, I enjoyed it. It was just great episode. Enjoyed it this week.
Yeah, I mean, I like this episode also. For me, this episode gave us more questions. To me, I have more questions now than I even had last week. But I guess in terms of the dynamics of the episode, I probably enjoyed last week's episode better. But I also enjoyed this episode. I feel like there was a lot to unpack. So the first thing that I want to bring up here, just to get your thoughts on this. What do you think is going on with the timekeepers? Do you feel like it's propaganda, or do you feel like they're really there? There's something up here, right? Something's not right.
It's propaganda. This whole thing is control. And I'm going to be very curious to see how we get into like all of this, but it just feels like it's propaganda. And I feel like what this show is going to try to build to is let the multiverse be the multiverse. Let variants live. Let them make choices. And so it's kind of interesting, though, that it's this semi-villain Loki and this semi-villainess girl Loki or Enchantress who is actually doing what they can to take power from these timekeepers. So, but that's my gut. Like right now, 2 episodes in, I look at this and I think this is propaganda. Loki sees it, and this is what's going to lead into a new multiverse war.
Any other thoughts?
Sorry, I'm distracted. I'm all over the place on trying to promote this thing right now.
That's all right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I interrupt you? My bad.
Nope.
Oh no, I was just going to say that the timekeepers are definitely an odd element right now. Is who are they? What can they be? Are they? You know, it's going to be very curious to see who shows up in that spot or who they really are. Right now, I don't really have any theories as to who or what is, you know, what that is. But I wouldn't be surprised if we like find out like it's a Tony Stark variant or something like that. You know?
So it's crazy, man, because I'm not really sure where I set on this, but I do think it's interesting though that if it is true that Mobius is telling the truth that he's never met the timekeepers,
I think that's true.
So I find that curious.
I think it's true.
But that's
I have some theories about that though.
Yeah, but that's why I think they're bad guys. I mean, think about how apparently just that judge woman and maybe other judge types, I guess, seem to know the timekeepers, and then they keep the timekeepers distant from everybody else. That's fishy right there. There's something very weird.
I do have a theory. I mean, it kind of depends on I think it depends on the direction that Marvel decides to go with the story. Because if we're going based off the comic books, there's a lot of information about the timekeepers as to who they are, where they come from, how they were made, and stuff like that. But you know, Marvel always changes some subtle elements about, you know, things in general. Just like how, you know, from last week's conversation, we talked about Adam Warlock. That never happened. It was actually Tony Stark, you know? So, you know, it kind of leaves that area of like you said, they could completely flip the script and not even use any, you know, definite stuff from the source material. But it would be really cool, I think, I don't know if this would give away anything, because I'm not sure if they would ever do it. I don't know if I can talk about it. Should I even talk about it? Some source material stuff?
Well, if it's source material, you don't know what the MCU is going to do. I mean, weren't Skrulls bad guys, and now they flip the script? So go ahead, share source material.
Yeah.
So I mean, basically, because since last week's conversation, I did some reading. I was like, you know what, man, I need to know more about this stuff. So I did some reading, and I got some surprises. So, some stuff I didn't know last week. So I mean, the timekeepers are created by this being at the end of time called He Who Remains, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if that's correct. He Who Remains, and he created them and to kind of oversee things. So based on that, they weren't necessarily bad in the comic books. They were kind of just created to make sure that everything that led up to that moment at the end stays in check. But like I said, you know, it's Marvel. They might completely be like, no, these guys are villains. It's propaganda. They have their own agenda, and we're not even going to use any of that. So I'm just interested to see which direction they're going to go in.
Now, can I put this out to all of you guys to see if you or anybody in the chat has an answer to this? So there's all these gods. So we got Loki, and then we got like celestial beings like Ego, and they're all gods with little g. But I've heard there is a god in Marvel called like the One Above All. Like, is this true? Does anybody know anything about that?
Yeah. So yes, there is a being in Marvel called the One Above All, who is supposed to be like the quintessential being. Like, I mean, there is no one above him. Right. So that is true.
So I'd be curious, if they bring that into play, and what will this being have to say about the Time Lords or Time Keepers, whatever they're called?
So it's a really interesting thing because I don't see Marvel doing that. I mean, and you guys can jump in too. I have no idea how they would pull that off. I mean,
I don't either.
The magnitude of this guy is just like, I don't see how they can make that work.
I think that would be like, well, no pun intended, but endgame stuff. I think that would be like if they ever introduce a character like that. That would be towards the end of their cycle when we're all like, 40 years in the future and Marvel's still making movies. It's just interesting because by introducing such a powerful entity like that, you're like, it's like, what more can you do at that point? And, you would ask that question, what more can you do? And it's a corporation. They have to make their money. Their investors and their stockholders and shareholders need to get their cash at the end of the day. So they're not I don't think they're going to go with something that big, but it is interesting
because they keep going like bigger and bigger beings. Like these time keepers, to be able to take a multiverse and then take it, in other words, untangle it and bring it down into a sacred timeline. And in this place outside of time, make Infinity Stones paperweights. I mean, we're already dealing with great amounts of power here.
Like God level stuff, yeah.
Well, I feel like there's always going to be something else. And, how do you take the most powerful being and, tell a story, a finite story with that, and then continue, the cinematic universe? There's multiple ways to do that. You could easily just take the character and, proof for him to be a fraud. It's not everything that it seems. And well, now we can take back our own timeline and the future is unwritten, and, go with that kind of storyline. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It would be really hard to do, but I will say this, case in point where we've seen it done, not in the Marvel work. I don't know who publishes Watchmen. Watchmen is a branch, I think, of DC.
That's DC,
DC, yeah.
But you saw But you saw what they did with Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
Who ultimately had all that power, but was able to be reasoned with, or was able to see that certain outcomes would be certain ways. And to that extent, he was kind of stripped down. He knew maybe he could stop, or he knew what was going to happen. But I think it was Ozymandias was able to get to him by just having him think through things. And he let certain things happen as a result of that. So,
yeah.
I mean, like, think about it this way, too. Like, we talked about Nexus beings a little bit last week, and Scarlet Witch being one of the biggest Nexus beings in the entire Marvel, storyline. That her presence alone is going to make the TVA relevant because they keep their eye on her like hawks. Like, they don't keep their eye off of Nexus beings, and she is a big, and her offspring too can literally change. Just from having a single encounter with forces of nature. And that also includes the TVA. So I want to really see how that's going to unravel things. I think a lot of people have been sleeping on Wanda for so long, not realizing how powerful this character is.
Well, that's a good transition.
Really powerful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because I felt like when this episode opened, and you had this variant hiding in the shadows, and they did that thing with their hand and the girl's eyes flash green. Didn't that look so much like what Wanda did when we first met her in Age of Ultron? Like, immediately when I saw that, I was called back to Nexus being.
Yeah.
And so I'm just thinking, I know people are debating, is this Enchantress or is this the female Loki? But I saw that power and I was like, oh my gosh, it's like a green Wanda. Is this like
very
a Nexus
similar
being?
to Enchantress? Yeah.
It's interesting because we talked a little bit about how, and Marvel's notorious for doing this, putting kind of these like red herrings or MacGuffins and stuff and having us chase it and then flipping the script on us. So
lying in trailers. Yeah.
Right. So I'm not super convinced at this point. It's going to sound crazy, but I'm not super convinced that is Lady Loki. I don't know. I feel very up in the air about a lot of stuff. Also, Matthew, I wanted to bring in something that you said, which is interesting about the Timekeepers, because you did some research on them. And initially, there were 4 Timekeepers.
Yep.
One of them was banished.
So wasn't it to Egypt or something like that?
Yep.
And built the pyramids. Aliens. It was aliens. Yeah. Go ahead.
And wasn't there the Time Twisters too?
The Time Twisters, yeah.
I wonder if we're gonna see any mention of the time twisters in the alternate timeline.
Well, they did mention the time twisters.
They mentioned them, right?
As that little device that can literally twist you in time.
Is that what they called it?
I think so. I think I heard them mention it that way. Yeah.
Okay.
But they didn't talk about them in the context that you're talking about them.
No, they did not.
Yeah, they're talking about those other beings. But it's interesting when you think about that fourth being, and then if he was sent back to a time in Egypt, I wonder if that will have some connection to the Eternals. We'll see how all that plays out.
Yeah.
Well, it's the MCU. They're working on connecting everything together. I'm just most excited for the multiverse of madness, especially after this episode ended. It's like you ask for a better segue.
I didn't think we were going to see it that early, too.
Yeah, no, I didn't either.
We were thinking we'd see like 3 episodes from now.
It's weird. Like, think about how weird this is. So we're dealing with something outside of time and space. So inside the timeline, the multiverse could have existed for quite some time. Whereas now, from our view outside the timeline, we're actually seeing the origin of the multiverse. Like, how weird and mind-bending is that?
Yeah. Which is really interesting because, again, like if we use source material stuff, which I really hope they utilize some of it, they don't have to do all, because I'm open to creative differences and expansion of storylines. That stuff is cool. But what I really loved about like reading some of that stuff was the fact that, he who remains and the timekeepers were from literally they kind of like had their whole base at the last point in time. And they were like, no, we need to make sure that we end up here. And then they go back. And so talking about the origin of the multiverse, they're probably aware of all of that too.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing too.
Yeah, that's a comment. Go ahead, Steve. I'm just going to put this comment up, and I want you guys to chime in on it, Stevie, after you share what you shared, because I thought this was an interesting comment that CCJ put up. Go ahead, Stevie.
I was just going to say that's something that I tapped into a little bit last week, I believe, is where is the TVA on the timeline? I threw out, it was an oddball thing, but in this episode, it kind of seemed to, it might be that route where I thought they were ahead of the future, like, because that one scene when Loki's talking to the receptionist lady and like, oh, well, can I see files on the future? She's like, no, those are blocked or whatever. So they have files on the future. Where are they standing on this timeline? Like, did I tap into some sort of correct theory here that
you must have? Loki asked your question in the episode in Pompeii.
Yeah. It's like, is this like a fourth dimensional world almost? With the TVA. Oh no, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Steve. No, you're good. I was done. No, I was done. It's good.
Oh no. I was just gonna say that if they do utilize again some of the comic book stuff, based on what we know in that, I think it is the null time zone they called it, and CCJ, Chronopolis. That's another place too. I don't know, but I don't remember it saying it was in a quantum realm. I remember them mentioning the omniverse as a whole and the null time zone within the omniverse that exists within outside of space of time. So it's like us looking at the computer screen, and everything on the computer screen is the omniverse in the world and the universe, but I exist outside of that. So that's kind of how I was picturing it in my head. So if they do utilize that again, which would explain why like Tesseract and Infinity Stones don't work, like Comic Culture Junkies was saying. In there and whole stuff with Kang, and there's so many things to talk about with Kang too with this. It's really interesting.
And people keep doing screenshots of the quantum realm from the last Ant-Man thing to show that city was there. In my own watching, I still haven't seen it. I see it on other YouTube videos when people pause it, but I can't find it myself when I'm watching the movie.
It would make sense though, because I think from what I remember, they said that they're going to introduce Kang in Ant-Man 3. Then they said they're going to introduce
Kang in Ant-Man 3 and rumors of Fantastic Four. But to me, those sound kind of like wild rumors, and I'll believe it when I see it. But
which the quantum realm theory would make sense too if they decide to go that route. Like, hey, guess what? The quantum realm, maybe because Kang and everything is all inside of this quantum realm. So that could be that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting too. And now just thinking about Comic Culture Junkies comment. And thinking about what goes on in the quantum realm and how he was totally not impacted by the blip. So it was totally outside of that realm of time. So it very well could be to it could be the case. Shout out to X who just joined us in the chat. How you doing, man?
What's up?
So I don't know, man. It's really interesting when you start peeling back all of this. I also find it interesting because I thought, you remember I made that suggestion that Wanda was really going to be the nucleus of what happens with the timeline and how we start to see all these splits. Apparently, I'm wrong. So there's one theory dead. I had a whole bunch of missed theories in WandaVision too, so I'll own it. But I'm interested to see now kind of what happens with her, because I do think she's going to have a big impact on things also.
But we don't know if you're entirely wrong yet, though. Because remember, this has happened before and they were able to fix it.
That is true.
So this could just be a minor blip that they're able to correct. So I wouldn't throw out your theory just yet. Maybe wait till Wednesday and see what they do.
Okay.
Because that's a really good theory, man. Because like I would stick with that one.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's still like open in the air with this episode. And like, I'm watching this, and you know, when the Lady Loki reveal was, I was like, is that Lady Loki or is that green woman from Avengers, the animated series? And I was like, but yeah,
Now, when it comes to things that happen in this episode, the variant hiding and apocalyptic events and things like that, and Loki, they go back and they're like, look, we can't disturb these events, or they're going to happen no matter what we do.
Right.
Did you guys feel like there might be a little bit of a misstep or a loophole in the episode a little bit? Because I started thinking, well, what if they did go back, to these like some sort of apocalyptic event, like what happened on in Ragnarok, when you're dealing with an event that has multiple gods in it, couldn't you? Don't you think you could, in a chance, stem off another branch? Just by being there and changing things, even in that moment. I don't know. It was something that it wasn't explained well enough, or maybe I missed something. But it just seemed like that wasn't like a good enough explanation of why that they couldn't change anything in an apocalyptic event, even with a small amount of time. I feel like that still would be, I don't know, possible.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, because I was kind of wondering about that a little bit myself, because it's like, is that flimsy or is that not flimsy? I mean, I kind of get what they were going for. I mean, if you show up right there in the apocalyptic event, you could change little things, but then everybody's going to die. So the changes won't spread out. So there's such small variations that it doesn't create a branch because everything's dead. So like the timekeepers either don't even notice it or they don't even care. But my question is how does this variant camp out there? Because you can't really hide there long. You can't really spend the night there, because if you're even there like the day before the event, just your mere presence is going to butterfly effect this thing and send out branches. Yeah. So my question is, how do you camp out in those things? Like, where do you sleep and stuff? Like, how do you do that? Because unless you're right there and the minutes before everybody dies, I feel like it's hard to camp out.
Yeah, it's a little wonky when you dive into it. I think that's what I was seeing as well. Like you said, it's flimsy. I'll just keep like being redundant and say the same thing over and over again. You go ahead.
No, just to add to this is just my thought process on it, but I think they're kind of just hiding out. I don't really think they're camping too much. I don't even think they're really getting a chance to do much, because it happens in such a short time frame. Maybe I wouldn't even say minutes. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that day specifically, that entire day. Maybe that like the end of the world, the end of that specific area, that moment in time. I'm pretty sure they can take a little power nap for 20 minutes and then, just kind of run off to the next place. Just right before it happens, as we saw Lady Loki / Enchantress do towards the end, like, okay, this place is about to, go wonkers. Let me get out of here and then just leave.
Yeah, I guess where I was coming from was like when I said Ragnarok specifically is, what if, Loki shows up in that to try to see if the variant is there, and then Thor, is like, oh, something's going on here. He takes his hammer and he leaves. All of a sudden, he's started a new branch. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm diving too much into it.
I don't think it's that it's that detailed. So I'm not sure if smaller events would really would impact or set off a new branch. I think they'd have to be on a galactic scale, almost like what's Doctor Strange mentor's name? The ancient one. The ancient one was saying with, when you take that stone out, what happens to the timeline? But I think if they're hiding out and in these events, like Stevie, are on the brink, they're not like a day or two coming. They're on the brink. Then I could hide out there. I'm not going to set off any bells or anything, because I'm hiding out there and I know what I'm doing. I'm not going to do anything to disturb, make a ruffle. But I'm just hiding there so you can't find me. Then we're going to have this big boom. Everything's going to get wiped out. Or if I do something and it's not big enough, it's not going to disturb things. It's going to get wiped out. Then I can move to a different place and do my destruction, and then just kind of hide in those events. And I think, Matthew, you made a good point, because if it is Lady Loki, when she did what she did, that was a cataclysmic event. All those different timelines branching off, and then she was out.
Yeah.
So, and the scary thing about that is they have to clip them before they redline. So the whole point of this woman doing that is you won't have time to clip them.
You won't have time.
And they are going to redline, and all of these branches are now going to exist.
I think the whole thing with Pompeii, to add to what Al was saying about it being such a huge galactic force, I think in order to really stop that and branch off a new timeline, for example, the volcano, there's gonna have to be Surtur or somebody that comes and let me catch the volcanic lava so it doesn't hit, or Galactus or someone was like, oh, not gonna happen, and then that's when it changes things. But I don't think a mere small individual as Loki, even though Loki is a quote unquote lowercase g god, it won't do much, as he demonstrated. I think that was he got the satisfaction of getting to show that, hey, look, I can go and speak to these people in a weird futuristic outfit that looks like an alien because they've never seen cloth like that before, and I'm just speaking in this random language and it won't change a thing. And I think that was like the biggest like game changer for just everything. I mean, just in 2 episodes, I think they've already drastically changed everything we can think about with this show, with the MCU.
Yeah,
just in 2 episodes.
And there has to be some point of going back to what we knew as the MCU, because the MCU has also, in just 2 episodes of Loki, like devalued their entire cinematic universe. Like,
very true, very true.
So that reminds me. Have any of you all seen the meme? I should have queued it up so we could show it. Where like there's a caption that says paperweights, and then they show the picture of of Tony dead, and they show the picture of a Black Widow dead. Like, wow, like all these people died for just paperweights. So
I think I did see that.
I did see the one where this one was, I think, is my favorite one. I'm gonna have to send it to you guys later, but it's you remember when they switched out Rhodey's actor for Don Cheadle, and
Experience. Yeah,
I don't know if you've seen the one guy in the stadium when he was saying like WTF is, that one dude in the stadium that was like, what the heck is this? What is that? And they were like, that's the TVA right now when they switch guys. I think that was my favorite one. I think that was my favorite meme to come from the show so far.
The meme that I saw was it showed when Thanos got his second stone, and it was like, no one has had the ability to hold 1 but 2 Infinity Stones. And then the next frame was the dude
Casey.
It was just him standing there like.
But you see, I think this actually raises the stakes for the MCU.
It does.
To sit there and see the power of the Infinity Stones, and then see there's a whole nother realm, not just the 9 realms, but a whole other realm outside of time and space, where there are 3 beings of so much power that Infinity Stones are paperweights. And then from what I know about Kang, and from the little bit that I saw of him in Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the animated series, this is going to be epic, what Kang is going to bring in. I mean, how do you raise the stakes from in-game? And I feel like, accidentally origining the whole multiverse is the way to do it.
We can't forget about Immortus too, because you can't forget
I
about
don't know who that is.
okay, so Kang
Thank you,
is just it's one of three personalities basically. Throughout time, he came back as three different beings. I think the first one was Ram 2 or something like that, an Egyptian. He made himself an Egyptian pharaoh at one point, and then he became Kang, and then the Timekeepers recruited him to become Immortus, and then to basically go back and undo everything that his previous versions did. So introducing Kang is, especially if they have to do it this way, because he's such a unique villain in the sense that he's actually three villains in one, and he is spread throughout the timeline in so many different ways. And then there's a connection, maybe with Fantastic Four, with him possibly being descendant of Reed Richards and like Doctor Doom and like all this kind of cool little things that they could possibly introduce in the MCU. That has me super excited, especially for Kang. Just all of that.
So what you're telling me, Matthew, is right now we got three Timekeepers and a villain who has been three villains.
Basically, I mean, minus Immortus. Minus Immortus. I remember, I think the Timekeepers recruited Kang, turned him into Immortus to work for them. And he had to go back and defeat his previous self. But like you said, it's the MCU. I'm not sure if they're gonna go that route, because it's very deep in the comic books, and that whole storyline kind of spans over from like the 60s into the 80s, and like it goes pretty deep. But it would be cool.
That would be cool.
It would be amazing
if the MCU actually does. I mean,
exactly.
They blew everything up in this episode. So who on this? But I'm happy about that, because like the MCU is pretty formulaic, and that's not bad. I like their formula. But it's very nice to have this pattern interrupt, like Loki blowing everything up. Especially, like, I liked Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I didn't love it. So to go from that to this, where everything's being blown up, it's like, yes, thank you.
Like here.
Yes.
It's like, oh, that's cute. That's cute, Winter Soldier and Falcon.
I was watching Al's video actually earlier about I know this is not the topic of the video, but about the whole like woke culture thing. I was watching that video, popped up, and I was watching. You mentioned Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think the intentions of those shows are just two different types of intentions altogether. I think from just rewatching Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think for that one, it's meant to be more of a social, economic, and political awakening, basically, in convergence with a legacy of controversial American hero that makes Americans. But Loki, on the other hand, is like, no, we're gonna blow up everything, and we're gonna like this, and we're gonna do that, and it's more intended to be more, I wouldn't say, okay, Falcon and Winter Soldier is definitely thought provoking. It's supposed to make you uncomfortable, and I think they did that, in a very good way. But Loki, on the other hand, was just like, no, everything just kind of throwing it, TVA, timeline this, timeline that, and I think the intention was definitely to be chaotic, and I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I think I want to make a comment, but just to bridge off what Matthew said, I think it's like it's the MCU telling like different types of stories. Definitely Loki is a bigger story and more, I was going to say global, but really almost a galactic story, which is probably not appropriate because we're dealing with time, but it's a huge story. So I like how the MCU is doing all that, even with the build of Loki. And I've said this before, it's a really smart move on the MCU, because they're giving you all these grand ideas which allow for crazy expansion, so that you could go galactic like Guardians of the Galaxy and beings like Thor, but then you can go street level, which is what Captain America and Falcon and all those are really considered. They're much more grounded characters.
Well, that's what the MCU does so great. They do Guardians of the Galaxy, they do epic Thor, they have these epic space adventures, and then you go Captain America, Winter Soldier, very gritty and down to earth. And I feel like if Falcon and the Winter Soldier could just be Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but as a movie, I would have loved it more. I still like the show. I think it's cool. Yeah. And I like it being gritty and street level. But I'm just saying, with the MCU, we can't keep doing the same old. Like, it's work and it's great, but we got to shake it up. And that's what I loved about Loki.
Hey, we also got a Russian spy movie coming up too. Let's not forget that one.
Do. It's somehow in phase 3.
That's the great way. The great thing about how the MCU is setting this up, they're not only creating this one universe, but creating multiple genres of, film fans' favorites. It's quite masterful what they've done. Quick here. there was a comment that I saw. It says, "What do you guys think Loki is going to do? Side with girl Loki or go back to the
Ooh.
TVA?" Because I am very curious to dive into what is going to happen next with Loki. What's his
I got theories about
intentions
that one.
here? You
I
know,
think that was
because
General's comment too. Sorry, Steve, go ahead.
oh no, you're fine. Yeah, that was General's comment. Yeah, but like I don't know, because Loki's always been Loki. Even I don't think he'll side with her or anything like that. He's got one goal in his head, and it's usually Loki
Yes.
himself, no matter what variants there are of him out there.
Well, don't forget what Loki said in the first episode about ruling and all that stuff. It's all an illusion. And he's playing the game. Like he
Right.
said those type of things. So if he's going to play this game, the rules have changed. So now that he's outside of time and space, he's with the TVA. So I don't know. I don't think Loki's going to side with anybody except for maybe Owen Wilson. Like they're a great buddy cop team, and I'd love them to continue to be friends regardless of what happens. But I think the real thing is Loki is on Team Loki. And I think what Loki has to do is learn all the players on the board. So, of course, he's going to leave the TVA behind for a couple reasons. One, how are they going to react? How are they going to track him down? He's going to learn a lot from that. But number two, he's also going to learn who this variant is, what this variant's purpose is. He's going to learn more about the TVA. He's going to learn more about this person. He's going to understand the game he's in a lot better, and he's going to figure out how to win because he always loves to be right.
But does he have his powers still? Because
depending on where he is on Earth,
he dried himself off. Yeah.
Well, if he's in a branch or in the timeline, he has magic. If he's in the TVA, he's got nothing. So if he went from that door to a branch, he's
all right. I was wondering if they like still contained it when he was with them. You know, other than
they even said that. Yeah.
Okay, I missed that then.
In the null zone, you can't do nothing unless you're a Nexus being. Unless you're Kang or Scarlet Witch, you can't do nothing in there. So when you're out of that, it's all free real estate. That's all it is.
It's an interesting thing though, because they recognize that, because even Mobius was like, listen, I mean, you can use your powers, so we're not worried about it. We know that we can catch you. So do what you want to do. We'll catch you eventually, and we can because we did. Yeah. So yeah. I wanted to say something which I found interesting about what's her name? The judge, who I forgot her name. Google Mbatha is the actress that plays her, the magistrate. When they were in the office, and that's when Mobius was like, "I've never met the timekeepers," and she makes an interesting comment that where she says, "I have other agents outside of you. That's how I got some of this other stuff in there." Yeah. I'm wondering. Now, I wonder if that is a link to Kang too. And correct me if I'm wrong here in the chat, or one of you guys, because at some point, I believe before Kang kind of does his own thing, the TVA recruits Kang, don't they? I could be wrong about this, and I don't know too much about
the timekeepers recruit him to become Immortus,
right? So now, so I'm wondering if that is a connection when she says that I've got other agents outside of you, and that's how I'm getting some of this stuff you don't recognize.
There's also another one too in the comic books, which I don't know if they'll actually introduce him. I don't know how many of you guys know of Justice Peace.
I don't.
Yeah,
Justice Peace was a character. He's basically he's basically Judge Dredd of Marvel.
Oh,
kind of looks like him too. But he worked for the TVA as an agent, and he was one of the agents that was recruited that wasn't like a clone or that was handmade by the TVA. Okay. He was someone that had a specific skill set that they wanted to utilize, and they sent him out to recruit people, to charge them, to execute them. He was kind of like a John Wick for the TVA. Or again, a Judge Dredd for the TVA. That's the best way.
Let's go with John Wick. I mean, Judge Dredd is awesome and all, but John Wick.
Let's go with John Wick. Yeah,
John gets it done.
John Wick of the TVA. So yeah, no, it could if they do introduce Justice Peace, which is I think it's a really weird name, but if they introduce him, I think that would be another game changer for the MCU, because he's a pretty big character in the comics.
Yeah. See, the good thing is I haven't read hardly any Marvel comics. So like all of these Marvel shows, I have gone in completely blank. And I I love hearing you talk about the source material and the origin and stuff, but especially this show and WandaVision were really fun to go in 100% blank. Because I don't know what any of these characters are, so I don't have any expectations or too many disappointments.
Well, you know what the funny thing about it is, what I love Disney and Marvel for doing is I knew a lot of the source material for WandaVision. There were some things I didn't know. There's some House of M stuff I didn't read that people wanted to see. But what I loved so much about it is that no matter how much source material you know, they're gonna say, guess what? We're not gonna do that. We're gonna do something else, and you're gonna enjoy it either way.
Wait, who's Mephisto?
Yeah, who's Mephisto? Right? Because everyone had all these grand theories. I think WandaVision was the one I decided I wasn't gonna do any extra research for. I just knew what I knew from the time that I read those books. And I'm like, I'm gonna keep it at that. What I know, we'll see if it comes to play. If it doesn't, I'm not going to be mad because I already expect this with the MCU. Kevin Feige and those guys, they already have their own plan, their own story. And I love like you're saying, the anticipation. The anticipation.
I agree, X. I agree.
The anticipation and the excitement of like, I don't know what's going to happen. Even with me reading the stuff about the TVA, I have no idea what they're going to do. And that alone is still exciting. And if they do show it, then that's like a little Easter egg for the comic book readers. Like, hey, I know that guy. But other than that, we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
So all right, now I told you earlier that I almost made a video, and Matthew, it was really almost along those lines. Durbin, Stevie, we've talked about this before. Another one of our buddies, another one of our YouTubers was ranting about, Marvel doesn't follow the source material. They don't really understand the characters and all this. And I thought, man, I'm like itching to make this video. My brother was like, don't do it, Al. Don't indulge. And I was like, Wayne, I got to say something.
I say it. Spill the tea.
So
do it. Let's go. Let's rant right now. Come on, Al.
But no, I'm not going to rant right now. I got to do a separate one.
We got your back, bro.
But
finger crack.
I think, Matthew, you make such a good point. As someone who is a comic book reader and myself as well, for a long time been a collector, but I'm happy not to know the story beat for beat. I don't have to know the story beat for beat. And I think it's smart for Marvel not to try and make a story where they're so catered to the comic book reader. Not that they shouldn't be, because I think you should pay respect to your core fan base, because that's how you got as big as you did. But where they tell stories where we still get the core of a character. Like Marvel has not introduced one character, in my opinion, that I don't recognize as being that character. I don't care if the character's been race swap or even gender swap. When I see certain power sets, I know who that character is.
Yep.
So if as long as I get that character on the screen, I'm okay with you varying from the story. I don't always want to know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So I like that aspect. Okay.
But even the comics do this all the time. I'm going to be blasphemous for 1 second and hop over to the world of DC. In the DC comic area, they have this line called Earth One. And I don't know who's read Earth One or not, but what Earth One does is it keeps to the core of the characters, but it changes their origins enough that it's unique, it's new, and it's different. So even comics go back and re-explore, redo. And so I have no problem if MCU doesn't follow its source material. It's just doing what the comics do anyway and exploring different avenues.
I got some thoughts on that, Durbin and Al. Like, I've been saying this for years on YouTube, and I'm going to continue to say it. I've had people come for me in the comments, and I really don't care, because I think what it all boils down to, I think people lack imagination these days.
Yes, they
do.
do.
People are so boring. Why do you want to see okay, I don't know. This is just a journal I have, but let's say I read every single thing in this journal, Captain America journal. But if I read everything in this book and I know everything page for page, word for word, there's no fun in that. If I'm going to watch a TV adaptation, if I know everything that's going to happen, do you just want to sound smart because you know a bunch of comic facts? It doesn't mean anything. Like, guys want to go say, I told you that Captain America, you see that hologram shield? I called it. Back, you see, you've been out tonight. Ta-Nehisi Coates wrote that story, like, come on, man. Like, it really does. It's an adaptation for a reason. And as someone who watches a lot of anime too, and Japanese manga reader, comic book reader, for Japanese stuff. Look, man, when watch the anime adaptations of these manga storylines, they're literally almost page for page 90% of the time. You know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But it's a different approach I have for that. Is more like, even though I know what's going to happen in the story or that arc, I'm like, you know what? I just want to see how it looks animated. I want to see the music. I want to hear the voice actors, what they bring to the table.
Yep.
So this, even within that, there's still different things I look forward to. But no, man, I just think people are they're just boring, and I don't know, man.
Well,
I mean, you lack imagination.
It also falls in line with movies, like rebooting a movie, doing a movie a different way. Batman being, one of those. Spider-Man being, poor guy has been rebooted so many times.
Almost as much as Batman.
Right, but it just seems like people. No, I don't want this. I don't want to see this being made. It's like, dude, it's like, don't watch it. I mean, you don't have to watch the movie. Michael Keaton Batman is still going to be on the shelves. It's still going to exist. You don't have to. You can watch that over and over again on loop if you want, if that's your thing, but people get so scared of something new. It's almost disturbing, like how many people are like that.
Now, if you go back and you mess up Lord of the Rings and give it a whole new plot, that's trouble, because you're trying to adapt a novel that people love and you're trying to give it an awesome look. And Peter Jackson did a great job. But comics are so full of different origin stories and different ideas and different ways of approaching things. What is wrong with the movies?
But Durbin,
you can't cherry pick, brother.
Yeah, you can't. I was about to say the same thing, Durbin. As a fellow Tolkien fan, Lord of the Rings fan, I will say this. I think you got to apply the concept to all things, especially in fiction, I think. Because if you look at look, I love Tolkien stuff. I love Lord of the Rings. Huge fan. I forever always reference your video when you went to New Zealand with your wife.
That was awesome.
I always tell some of my friends, I'm like, I had a friend that went on the set, man. Like, and then I show them the video. But no, but I will to add to that, if someone wanted to go back and change some of that stuff or even expand on the world and kind of make, like, I don't know, an alternate reality of what happens in Middle Earth, something different in another universe, a parallel universe where, I don't know, where Frodo is actually like 6'2". That'd be hilarious, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I think it'd be funny, but like Stevie said, you can always go back to the original. You can always cherish that. And why would you not want to see, a Hispanic Batman with a different story and a gritty, something more aligned with, their culture and what he goes through? I think like that would be so dope on a different planet, different, cultural impact, different, just history. I feel like a Batman like that would be so dope.
I even think they even tapped on it was a fan theory or a fan casting. I'm not sure. Can't remember his name. The guy in Breaking Bad played, he owned the chicken restaurant.
That makes me hungry.
I haven't seen that.
I've never watched Breaking Bad. I don't know.
It's on my list, though.
Never seen Breaking Bad? Anyone?
No.
I've seen. I don't know what the hype is, Stevie. I can understand.
That's more controversial.
What world do I live in where I'm the only one who's seen that show? Anyway,
I'm getting there. Don't worry. We talked about it today.
Anyhow, the guy who owns Locos Pollos, the restaurant, he's got like some Spanish descent of some kind, and there was rumors that he was actually going to play Magneto. Or a fan theory that he was going to play Magneto, and I thought, man, how cool would that be to take this German background, the Nazis, and World War II and all that, what they did to the Jewish community, and put that same sort of dark undertone on this character, but in a different culture, for something that this culture had to deal with. I think doing stuff like that is absolutely amazing. I love seeing characters taking a different route.
I will say the only time I think that there's an exception, though, where it has to be original, is if a character has cultural or religious importance. I think those things are like, again, I'll use Black Panther as an example, because Black Panther is a character that is significant and important to the African community, diaspora, everybody all over the world, African descent. Black Panther is important to that. So I feel like certain things like that shouldn't be touched. However, though, I will agree that you can take a similar idea like Black Panther and apply it to another community or like another. For instance, I think the Black Panther storyline could actually work with the Skrulls, because if we based on the MCU version of the Skrulls, they were a group of people that were ostracized. They were preyed upon. They had their things stolen from them. You know, they were treated bad because of how they looked. I'm pretty sure you can create a Skrull character that was similar to Black Panther in a way like that. So that's the only time I would say certain things should be kind of, you know, kept that way if it has a certain importance. But you know, if you do it right, you can definitely apply any general story to any other types of culture.
So I wanted to just hop in. I want to make a comment, but I wanted to say thanks, MB, because I think it's John Esposito who was he was also in The Boys. He plays he's great too, man. He's
Giancarlo.
Giancarlo, that's right.
Far Cry 6.
Yeah, he's great. Now I do want to say this because, and I listen, before I say this, I will fully admit that I am talking out of both sides of my neck. Matthew, I don't think you've been in on this discussion, but I think I've talked about it with Stevie and Durbin before. Because some stuff, like some originals, like I don't want to see. You may have seen my video where I railed against DC making Superman black and having him Clark Kent, because I feel like that's a stunt. Now, if you want to do something like that, like you guys are saying, like create original stories, then that's fine. But some stuff is just like, and again, I will fully admit that it might sound like I'm talking out of both sides of my neck, but at least it's an honest thought. Some stuff, like I don't want to see stuff change with. I don't like, for example, Durbin, I'm with you with Lord of the Rings. I like the look and feel of Lord of the Rings. Now, I've said before in other videos that some videos are some things when you make them, like for certain groups, they're okay. And I use the reference of, like, for example, one of my favorite movies of all time is Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Ain't no black folks in there, no white folks or Hispanic folks in there. There's all Asians in that movie. So when you make stuff like that, or if you're making it for a certain community, then I think it's okay. That is all. All right. So I just wanted to get that.
Just to touch base about the Magneto, the change in that is the thing with Magneto is that his storyline is specifically stuck in World War II. You know, if you want to take that story and move it forward, you're gonna have to change things up a bit. You know, you can't just.
Hey, I'm on the live stream. Okay, bye.
He said you're beautiful.
I would say this though, the Clark Kent thing. I know this is not about that, and I don't want to make it about that, but I will say, just to voice my opinion on it, I agree. I think it actually angered me because I know of two characters specifically in the DC universe that were brand new characters that you could have utilized, that had their own stories, their own. I don't want to see a black Clark Kent in a city that like is most likely highly racist. How is that going to work, bro? You mean to tell me you go to like one of the most like deep? I don't want to get deep. Let me watch what I say. I don't want to get too deep into it, but like you go into a city or a state that. Okay. How many black people y'all seen in Smallville? I just want y'all to answer.
I love Smallville. Wait, I love Smallville, but
how many have you seen? Just be honest. Ain't nobody getting hurt here.
Pete.
Okay. Okay. But my point,
the first Dr. Hamilton.
It's Pete. Pete is the one.
my point is, I just don't think it would really work. You know, if they're trying to represent. Al, cut me off if I'm doing too much.
No. You're
fine. If they're trying to, you know, create or showcase the black experience in a Superman character, you have two characters that do it so well in the comic books that were made for that. Let Clark stay Clark. That's fine with me. There's so many different Supermen. Val-Zod is great. I actually like him a little bit more than Clark, to be honest. Just saying. I actually kind of grew up with Val and Calvin Ellis. So, and just like how I grew up with John Stewart, Green Lantern, that was my Green Lantern, and my, you know, as a kid growing up, I didn't know about Alan Scott and Hal Jordan until I got a little older. When I saw Jon Stewart, he was an original character. He was new. He was still Green Lantern, but he wasn't like Hal Jordan, where if they did it, like I said, if they race swapped them, and that's fine. But to just what Al was saying, I do think it's a stunt, especially with what's been going on lately. And it's like, no, man, no, you don't have, you're not winning any points like that. That's just what I'm.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop there.
Yeah, listen. We can keep going, you guys. Let me redirect us.
Back to
there's some good Loki conversation going on in the comments right now.
Right. So let's about Lady Loki.
Yeah.
So good. Thank you. That's a good segue back into Lady Loki. Let me share a theory of what I think with Lady Loki and what's going on with the variant of Loki that we have. I think that this is not the first to eat. I think this is not the first time that those two have met each other. And the reason I say that is because I think if there are variants of Loki throughout the timeline, I think that we're going to find out at some point in time that those two have connected with each other before he ended up in the TVA. That's just my theory about that.
And knowing Marvel, they'll show us a clip that, like from, 5 years ago. We're like, oh my God, there she is. Like she was that character. Yeah.
So, because I do think that when he makes that comment, like, listen, I'm 10 steps ahead of you. I think that he knows he's aware probably of more than what's going on that even we know as the viewer so far. Excuse me. And I think that there are things that are going to come up that we're going to be like, oh wow, okay. Like
I think he's playing innocent right now. Like for instance, when they're walking in the hallway, they're about to go to that like 1985 branch. And Owen Wilson says something to him like, a meeting with the timekeepers is on the table somewhere. And Loki's like, what? And he goes, yeah, keep that focus. And they go through the door. It's like, I think he's playing innocent because he's got a game. The game is afoot. And when he finally meets this variant, it's like, okay, I got to learn about this variant because he's already got a plan. Now let's work on plan B and plan C and get to know this other variant and see what they're up to.
I think so too. I think it's interesting too because I said in my review for this that there's a cat and mouse going on here. And it's interesting that Mobius makes a statement or offers that kind of dangles that carrot in front of him about meeting the timekeepers.
Yep.
You've never met them yourself,
no.
And you know that.
And I think Morbius is probably more than we know right now. And maybe they're playing cat and mouse with each other. Maybe they're just as smart as each other. Maybe Owen Wilson sees what Loki's seeing, and he's playing a little innocent. So it's going to be very interesting to get deeper into these characters because they're playing each other.
Oh, absolutely.
And you saw that in that opening scene in the tent. Loki was stalling for time, but I think he was testing. He was testing his limits. He was testing to see what are they going to believe and what are they not going to believe. And I feel like Owen Wilson saw that. And so, like, these characters... something's going to happen with Owen Wilson. I don't think we're going to find him as faithful to the sacred timeline as he was even saying in that one scene. There's going to be there's something interesting going on here.
He doesn't seem, I don't think he doesn't seem like purposefully malicious or anything.
No,
like that.
I'm not saying he's malicious.
I know, but
smart.
But I also think I think he sees something new and fresh. He seems like he's been doing the same job for however long. He's just going through the motions. He's filing the paperwork. He's doing the thing. He signed the paper. Now this something new is exciting. It's sparking something new in him.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to translate a lot into Loki as well. Like that will play into that. Again, all of this is just theory, but Loki seeing how he could positively change somebody's life, and that being Morbius, like that. Or Mobius, sorry.
I kept calling him Morbius too.
It's so close. But I think he's tired, he's done, or just worn out, and this breathes new life into him. And I think he's excited about it.
I think Stevie, you bring up a good point, and it's interesting because when you think about the magazine of the jet skis, it does seem like Mobius is almost like he's tired of kind of being tired. And I think it's interesting because I believe it's a bit of a tie-in when Loki asks, how long have you been here? And Mobius is like, it's hard to say. Time moves differently now. But when we see when we see that picture of the jet ski and when we see kind of his interaction, I'm almost wondering with him, is he using Loki as almost a way out, as a transition to not continue to do
and
what
I'm
doing.
wondering that, or like Steve said, you know, like it's awakening something in him. So this could be the beginning of a character arc where he didn't even realize how much he desired for change and something different, and now he will. So like, yeah. But I think he's really smart. I think he sees Loki's playing him, and I think he sees what Loki sees, and I think it's awakening something in him. And I think he's going to play cat and mouse. He's going to let himself be played to an extent to see where things are going, and then he's going to give Loki that pushback. Like, I mean, I think like we're going to see Loki and Mobius as almost like equals in this manipulation game.
Yeah, and I will 100% guarantee, like right now, we're going to see Owen Wilson on a jet ski before this series is over.
Oh, I thought that too. 100%. There's a reason they brought it up, and it was better than Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. They bring something up, and they're going to use it again.
Yeah, man, it's really interesting to see kind of those two go at it, and I just feel like Marvel still with this series is still really hiding a lot of stuff in their hand. Like I was impressed that they had the branching off of the timeline in episode 2. I was like, wow, because we have like what 4 more episodes to go.
Well, they're going to give us full 4 episodes to explore that now. How incredible is that?
Right. Because I know that some fans were arguing, and they were comparing it to Falcon and the Winter Soldier in that they felt like with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, you almost knew what was coming too early in the show. You knew what the next steps were going to be, and they were saying that they felt like that was almost the same way with Loki. Like you knew that the variant was going to be Lady Loki, but I feel like Marvel. I feel like you can't hang your head on that. You don't really know what they're going to do. You might think you do, but you don't really know what they're going to do. And I feel like they've gotten smarter with the writing of each show as they've gone on. So,
well, this show has to give time for this multiverse to really span out and get crazy. Because right now, I don't even know if Doctor Strange knows of, the TVA. And so,
but that depends on how it works. Cause it looks like the main timeline is still there, but spreading backwards and forwards on that timeline are the branches. So it's like,
so my point is that these multiple universes have to have time for if Doctor Strange finally says, "Oh, holy crap! I need to step into this or somewhere." I mean, Strange has really got to have. He has to be involved with the TVA or know of them or somehow for him to clean this stuff up. I don't know. So many questions. This show is doing a good job.
Nexus being are going to clean. I think this show is a very good introduction to What If. Like, do you think when we get into that animated series, What If, it's going to dive into these branches? Like, do you think that's what that is?
I think so. I mean, they've already said that this show is a tie-in to so many other things, and I'm sure Stevie that Strange knows about the TVA. Like Strange knows everything. He knows about everything.
Yeah,
right.
So,
well, yeah, but his main power source is a stone that is seemingly meaningless. Where the TVA is located.
But when you kind of follow Strange in the comics, he almost he just knows so much. Like, and oftentimes, like you see him encountering these interdimensional beings. So I'd be shocked, especially if he didn't know about the TVA. I'd be shocked if the Ancient One didn't know about the TVA. Yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah, I would be shocked too. It would make more sense. It would make more sense if they did know about it.
Let this blow your mind for a second. In the first Doctor Strange movie, when he's going through that psychedelic, magical, out-of-body experience, the Ancient One said, "And what is your role in this vast multiverse?" So according to the Ancient One, who's been around since ancient times, there is at present a vast multiverse.
Right.
Yet, in this present episode of Loki, we are watching the origin from outside of time of a multiverse.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So I think they know, like we talked about last time, that maybe these guys are the Green Lanterns of the MCU, the magic people. I'm assuming Doctor Strange definitely knows, and maybe the TVA doesn't know that Doctor Strange knows.
Yeah, I'm sure. Like I said, I'm sure he's aware of it. I also want to ask you guys, does anybody have any theories? And this is for the folks in the chat too. Any theories about the significance of that pen that said Franklin D. Roosevelt on it? Because
I have no theories, but you know it's important. There's a reason it was highlighted. There's a reason he read it. Marvel doesn't waste that stuff like Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. They brought it up for a reason.
That reference to Zack Snyder's movie.
Hey, Durbin, are we going to have to do a live watch party of Army of the Dead now? Because you,
dude, that'd be fun. Yeah, let's do that. I would have a blast with that. Yeah.
But it's interesting. I did read an article online where someone was saying it was this weird. I think it may have been on CBR where they had like found this connection with the pen in some place in New York and chased it all the way back to I can't remember what Owens. Matthew might know who it is. What Owens' last name is? The Molecule Man.
Molecule Man.
Yeah, he's I always remember him from Secret Wars, the 84 run of Secret Wars, 1984 Secret Wars.
No, you got me there on that one.
I know of Adam on DC. That's close to a molecule.
Yeah, I know Adam.
Does anybody Owen Reese? That's his name, Owen Reese, who does also have a tie into the TVA as well. So they wrote this whole article like drawing it back to Owen Reese, and it'd be interesting to see if they bring him into the MCU. Owen Reese is crazy powerful. I mean, able to control things on a molecular level. He's a beast. And anyway, so that was kind of the explanation. But I was racking my brain trying to figure out like what was going on. And in the video I created, I was typing and I was like, okay, Franklin D. Roosevelt. And then I thought about Franklin Richards. And then I thought about Fantastic Four, because that's Reed Richards' son. So I'm thinking like, I'm trying to figure all that out, but it's racking my brain now because you're right. They wouldn't show that if it didn't have some significance.
And they didn't just show it. They focused on it. They talked about it. I have no theory because I know that little, but like I know enough when you watch movies and stuff, when they take that kind of time, it's important.
Yeah. That's one of those Easter eggs for the comic fans right there to sit and ponder on for sure.
Yeah.
To take it back a little bit, because I was just kind of just listening to you guys. The the thing that I'm interested to see is if they're going to utilize the fact that if it is Enchantress, if they will utilize the fact that Loki actually gave her powers in the comic books. Loki was her mentor and taught her.
I remember that in the animated series because they were like attached at the hip.
Yeah, they were. Yeah. So she was like an apprentice of his. So what I'm thinking, if we'll see, but if it is Enchantress, it will explain why she has, his little horn things, right? Because as a little bit of a, if you're a Padawan learner, you kind of take some aspects from your master in some regard, whether it's his or her hairstyle or the kind of clothes they wear or the way they hold their lightsaber. Same thing like this, a person who wears similar armor to their mentor. If that's the case. If that's not the case, then it's just Lady Loki and that's that. But I'm really interested to see if they're going to utilize the fact. And if that is true, we'll start to see why Loki may possibly have a bond with this character that he doesn't quite understand, and maybe a yearning to help this character that he doesn't quite understand as well. But in some other weird reality that was kind of covered up in some way, they had a bond.
Now that would be interesting. I think I agree with you, Matthew. This is going to be interesting to see what they do with all this.
Depends on what the revelation is,
Yeah,
that's what will determine.
Well, because either Marvel wants to throw us off by making us believe it was a female Loki variation, but really it's Enchantress, or they're trying to double throw us off and it's not Enchantress and it is a female version of Loki. So we'll see what
or just a brand new character.
It could be a brand new character. That would be cool. Gear. Yeah,
just happen to steal Loki's gear. Another Nexus being of some sort that they mistook as Loki.
Yeah.
That could be another thing too.
The TVA really makes a lot of mistakes and misses some things, huh?
You know what I'm thinking about the TVA too, as we were watching this, is like their henchmen don't know anything at all. They're just pawns. They're literally just pawns. So even though the current director, she doesn't know anything. I'm pretty sure she doesn't even have. That's why she's so vague about, you know, the timekeeper. She doesn't know them. She doesn't talk to them. She probably has some manual that she has to follow, and just kind of has to go based off of a manual that they just kind of left for her to read. So these guys don't know anything at all. That's what I'm thinking, which would explain why no one has seen them. They just seen their statues. You know, Mobius doesn't know anything. And by the way, about the jet ski thing too, I just want him to see, you know, Loki present him with a jet ski. He just says, "Wow." I just want to see it. He needs to say it once.
Yeah, my son and I have a bet about how long it's going to take before Owen Wilson does the classic "wow." Yeah,
The wow.
I will tell you though, Matthew, I think you're wrong about the agent. I think she knows more than what she lets on to. As a matter of fact, I would not be surprised if she is more of a ringleader with this than we realize. And because she also said that she sanctions the missions. I just feel like, and this does harken back to the comic books, but I just feel like there is some connection between her and Kang. And I feel like there's more to her than meets the eye, and she's more than just kind of a servant or working for the timekeepers. There's something about her that's not right.
What if she is Kang in disguise?
Ooh.
She could be
Kang the Conqueror in disguise, you know?
She could be.
Just having a little chess game.
Yeah,
with
what
the
if there
world.
are no time? What if they were killed a long time ago because Kang has conquered? And
Well,
now
it was
he's in
funny
disguise?
because they were, you know, if that actually throws back to some source material stuff too. I think the Time Twisters were killed in the alternate reality, and the you know, their creators recreated them in a new timeline where they actually live. So that would be interesting.
That'd be interesting.
Agatha, it's Agatha all along, to be honest. That's just what it is. Agatha is really lore from the comic books.
For the sake of hearing that song again, I would love it if it was Agatha all along.
Just hear that little gritty witch laugh.
She did such a good job in that role.
She really did.
She was awesome in that role. She was really good. I also wanted to ask you guys what you thought about when they send the different time resets to all the different locations. And I know we end at that point, because initially I thought that they were actually sending those back into the TVA. That's what I thought. And I thought it was an attempt to really try to erase the TVA. But now I'm thinking, I guess they wouldn't work in the TVA because it's not the same temporal.
Well, they did disintegrate a cart in the TVA, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah.
But they're using their technology, and the cart probably only reacts to their technology.
That's very true. Yeah.
You know, but then again, though, the time reset bombs are also their technology.
Yeah.
So it's like vibranium can only destroy vibranium.
Yep.
Yeah. So I wanted to know if you all think that that's why the female Loki, we'll call it that for the sake of argument, that's why she took the guard. Did she take, because that's, from what we know, that's the only time someone's been taken. And did she take them? Two questions. Did she take them to take him or her to learn how to operate the equipment? And that's why she took her. Because you know that previously she'd been collecting the charges all along. We saw that in episode 1 when the guy tries to hit the charge and she collects it.
But didn't she say that that she told Lady Loki everything?
She did.
Yeah. But that makes sense, right? Because if she needed to learn how to activate that stuff, she got all of that information.
But what has me thinking though is if no one has seen the timekeepers, how could she know how to find them? Because she said, I told her how to find the timekeepers.
Oh.
She did say that. She said she told her how to find them. So how would they know how to find them if no one has seen them, including one of their top detectives?
That is an incredibly good question, because that line was there 100%.
Uh-huh. Because one of their top detectives never seen the timekeepers, much less a soldier.
Yeah.
How would she confident? Because if it was a trick, I feel like she would have said, "Don't worry, guys. I told her how to find the timekeepers, but I don't. But it's a dead end.
Yeah.
It's a dead end. We don't know." But she seemed very scared of the fact that she relayed this information to Lady Loki.
Yeah, she was traumatized.
She was traumatized
like,
by it. She's like, no. She's like, I told her everything. So that's what I'm thinking about now. Like, how does that work? What's going on? Who's hiding what, and who has certain information that other people don't have?
Yeah, it's interesting. I put this up because this question is a question my brother asked the last time. I promised we would answer this. So just to jump off of this, sorry, you guys. Privilege, I guess, of me having a stream on my own channel. But wanted to know what we thought or who our strongest hero is. And I guess I'm going to frame this in the MCU. Right now, to me in the MCU, I said this last week, there's no question that it's the Scarlet Witch. For me, I'm just curious about who you guys think is the strongest hero so far in the MCU.
Define strong, though. What are your parameters by strong? We're talking physically strong, mentally strong, spiritually strong, or just overall everything?
I would just say overall. I guess they all have their weaknesses.
Scarlet Witch. What weakness can she have when she's a nexus being that challenges time and all other forces of nature?
And I want to say Doctor Strange
of nature.
Because Doctor Strange is my favorite so far, especially in this new world. And I loved his movie. I thought it was great. But I have to go with you guys that Wanda is the strongest because that's even part of the prophecy of the Scarlet Witch, that she would be stronger than the Grand Master.
This chaos magic stuff is insane.
Yeah. Envy's saying a Scarlet Witch as well. I mean, I think so. It's a hard question to answer because I can imagine that if the settings were right, there are times where technically you could take her out because as we see her so far in the MCU. Well, she was a little different in WandaVision, but she was subject to physical damage just like a regular person.
Yes.
Like you're not, for example, you're not going to kill Thor with a bullet, but she could be hurt by physical damage. But I don't know now that the way they've cast her,
wreak more havoc than anybody else. Like, Hulk can't be harmed by a bullet, and that dude is stronger the angrier he gets. Yet, I think Scarlet Witch could turn him into a frog.
But my anime guys in the comments y'all gonna understand this reference. She had her anime flashback, and normally in anime, when you have a flashback, you get stronger. You get a power upgrade. Yeah, and she had her anime flashback moment where some hidden power was unlocked, and that's that. Because it's like I don't know who's the best thing to think about. Okay, I'll use another anime reference. It's so much because anime is inspired by Western comics, so it makes sense why they're so similar, but. There's characters in anime that are just they seem so weak at first. They get beat up so easily. And at the end of it all, there's some hidden secret inside of them that makes them 10 times stronger than any of the people that were beating them up. And I think that's the case with Scarlet Witch. She's on a whole different level now. They can't touch her. The only person that might come close, I think, is definitely Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to look at the Mind Stone and that flashback that you were talking about. Because as you're talking about her flashback, that level up moment, I mean, she saw silhouetted in that yellow light the Scarlet Witch or the spirit of the whatever it was, that vision of something.
Reincarnation, I guess.
Yeah. And so it's like there's something special there, and Doctor Strange is going to have to deal with it.
Wait, I gotta put this up. Shout out to Matthew V. Haynes for this. You'll love this. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry, Envy. I mean, sorry, General. You're the man, but this is the one we wanted.
Yes. That's the one. I'm telling you. That's the kind of level that we're on. Watch. I'm saying it now on Dark Side Reviews. Scarlet Witch is going to be so overpowered going forward. They're not even going to hide it. They're not going to. Chaos magic. Why introduce chaos magic and not wreak havoc?
Yeah,
and go chaotic. You got
and they tried to really overpower Captain Marvel, but I think again Scarlet Witch could turn Captain Marvel into a frog if she wanted to.
She could, and that's the thing. You're dealing with hexes, and again, if you can, like Captain Marvel's powers are so irrelevant in the null time zone, where the TVA is located. It's so irrelevant there, and think about it. If Wanda can wreak havoc and destroy and actually cause damage to the TVA in the null time zone.
Yeah.
Where Captain Marvel has no power. Come on now. Think about that.
Yeah.
That's some insane stuff.
Yeah.
Now, here's my question though. If this is Enchantress, I'm going on the assumption right now this is Enchantress because of the green magic. And the way she did it and played like on the side of that girl's head, her eyes glowed green. It was just like in Age of Ultron when Wanda messed with their mind.
Right.
So what does that mean about this character, assuming she's Enchantress? Is she a Nexus being? Is she able to wreak havoc in the TVA outside?
I feel like you don't know enough to know that because we've only seen her operate outside of the TVA.
But I'm operating on the fact that she looked exactly like Wanda did in that scene when she got into that girl's head.
I actually thought it. Similar. I have a red-green colorblind little mild to it. Okay. So when I actually saw it, in my eyes at first, because of the shadows and how it was shaded, to me it actually looked red, and I thought it was Scarlet Witch. So I was like, whoa, wait! Don't tell me that's her. I'm like, is she working with Loki? What's going on? And then when I actually saw it closer in the light, it was green. So I was like, oh man. So now when you mentioned that, I'm like, the powers are so similar, even the way that it was done with the mental control and speaking through other people's bodies, having a host, and things like that. That's
there's something there, and maybe she's not awakened to the extent yet because it took a while for Wanda to awaken to this extent that she's at now, right? So maybe Enchantress just hasn't been awakened to that, but the fact that they made it, and to me, again, looking at how they make films and how they do this, why did that look so incredibly similar? And I think that's a valid question to ask when you're looking at that. So whether it's a female Loki or Enchantress, it's like that must be some sort of powerful Nexus being.
I mean, it could be. It could be. I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. It'll be interesting to see how they play all of it out. And now I'm thinking too, if Loki and this variant do connect, then that also could mean that the big bad that we think in this series, who now appears to be Lady Loki, might not be. It might be someone else.
It might be the Timekeepers and He Who Remains and all the other people above. I feel like, Lady Loki is just trying to survive. I think that's what it is, because she's being hunted, obviously. She's trying to survive. She's not trying to be caught up in this.
Yeah. Look how they treated Loki. He didn't know he broke a law. He just acted according to his nature, and they were putting him on trial for a crime he didn't even know could even exist. So when you look at how they treated him, then if they treated this variant the same way and this variant escaped, of course they have that motivation.
Yeah. Stevie, you're muted.
I think something might have died on Stevie's end there.
He's having some sound troubles, ladies and gents.
But he's Stevie Cade. He can fix it. He can fix anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see who ends up being the big bad in this, but it'll be there's a lot of ways it could go. It could be the Timekeepers, and I'm sure the Timekeepers are going to have something to do with this. We're going to find out some kind of revelation with them.
No, I was gonna say, can you just imagine the Timekeepers just chilling in Egypt on top of a pyramid, like just drinking pineapples? Like, I wonder what they're doing right now.
There was this part of me. This is a wild thought. This is not a theory. This is just me, Durbin, having a weird thought as I'm watching the episode. When Owen Wilson is in that room with that judge lady, and she has the 3 Timekeeper statues in the room, I go, wait. What if those are the Timekeepers and they're just in disguise as statues standing there listening to everything?
Can you hear me now?
I hear you now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
All right. I switched out one of my wires a little earlier, and I think that muted it automatically. What I was saying to Matthew was, if he's saying he thinks Lady Loki's on the run, and that she's just trying to survive or what have you. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that because of her kidnapping the TVA lady and getting information from her. I feel like there's a plan there. Like there's a plan that the TVA knows something, that they're infiltrated. Something's about to happen if they don't stop the female Loki. Or did I misunderstand what you meant by that?
No. Okay. That's what I meant. But let me ask you a question though. A question for that one.
Yeah,
now.
Absolutely.
So, okay. So when you're playing, Does anybody here play chess? Anyone here play chess?
I'm learning chess.
Mildly.
I suck, but I am learning. I have a Lord of the Rings chess set. I always play the dark side, the bad guys, because I always lose. So I just at least want the bad guys to lose.
Well, Stevie, so you're familiar with chess. So you always have to think 10, 15 steps ahead. You always have to, because and your opponent is always, if you're thinking 10, your opponent is going to think 20. So if you know that you're going to be captured, wouldn't you do something on that board to prevent yourself from being captured? If you could, and if you know how to do it. Because I'm a similar way with certain things too. If I know someone, and what I mean is, so what I mean is, it's just super popular on YouTube. Yeah, what I mean is, if you have an edge on someone, a slight edge, to kind of misdirect them or throw them off from having the edge on you, wouldn't you take that chance?
Well, is Lady Loki not doing that? It seems like she's been steps ahead the entire time.
But you could be on the run. What I'm trying to say is you could be on the run. Oh, okay. Let me restate what I'm saying. So what I'm trying to say is you're trying to prevent yourself from having to run. If that makes any sense, what I'm trying to say. I don't know if you're catching what I mean by that.
All right, say that one more time. I'm sorry, I got distracted by Durbin pointing at the bottom of the screen. I read the bottom real fast.
Okay. I don't know. So there's a dog. Okay, there's a very dangerous dog outside that gate, and if you open that gate, or you run this way, you run that way, the dog's gonna chase you and bite you down, and you can't outrun the dog. You already know you can't outrun the dog, but if you can distract the dog a little bit, it might give you some time to get enough distance away from that dog so he doesn't bite you. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I just feel like Lady Loki has a plan. Like, I think she knew Loki was going to follow her. I think she knew Loki was going to find her in that situation. Like, I just feel like all this stuff that's happened is not like, oh, Loki found out what's going to happen, and now we're up. We beat her to her own plan. I think all this. Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair.
Now let me bounce off Steve there. From what I remember of Enchantress from Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the animated series, how she's attached to Loki's hip and everything, she's learning to be just as much as a trickster as Loki. So Matthew, something that you said earlier, that maybe there was some other timeline where she had already been Loki's apprentice, and maybe that timeline is now gone, but she managed to escape. I'm thinking she's playing chess, and she's playing chess Loki's way, because Loki was her mentor. I really don't think this is the female variant of Loki. I really think this is Enchantress, and I really think she is 10 steps ahead of the TVA right now. And I think Loki, I think he exaggerated when he said, Owen Wilson, I'm 10 steps ahead. I think he was lying. I think he's more like, 5.5 steps ahead.
Well, it could. I mean, I do think that whoever this is, and if it is female Loki, I think that it is female Loki from an earlier time. She seems to know more than Loki does, or Loki variant does.
Yes, because I think she's been on the run outside of time longer.
Yeah. I think, and she knows something, right? Because all of this is new to the Loki variant, but she has familiarity with all of this. And even when when Loki tells her about his plan to overthrow the TVA, she almost looks at him and makes that statement like, I have no desire to overthrow the TVA. But the way that she makes it to me is almost like, I know something you don't know. You're chasing this, but
here's a carrot. Yeah, here's a carrot on a string.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe the TVA. So maybe the TVA is a small cog in a bigger plan, as you're as you're saying there. That's definitely might be possible.
Look at Joshua's comment. I kind of like that one. The one where he says, I'm thinking the timekeepers died.
That's a good theory.
Yeah, I think the timekeepers died because that lady makes decisions they are supposed to. I don't know if you've seen Snowpiercer. The lady played controller and servant. So
Snowpiercer is awesome, Josh.
Yeah, I watched it once. It's been a little while, but I did really enjoy it. But
and the show is good too. Sorry,
haven't checked that out. I need to. But there's something fishy. Either the timekeepers are alive and there's going to be some sort of war against them, but there's something about that judge lady. There's something about it, and she's more than what she seems.
Well, and if remember too, if if she's working with Kang, it could be that the two of them are working together, because in the comics, Kang does kill the timekeepers.
Or she could be Kang in disguise, as we discussed earlier. But yes, one of those two things could very much be a reality of what's going on here.
She also seems to be super close with Mobius too, though. It's like they came up together, and she kind of got a promotion. So I wonder how that works. She seems to be really close with him.
She does. And here's an interesting thing, and I don't know necessarily this would align with the comics. It could be something new that Marvel's doing. But when she has that conversation with Mobius in the office, it almost made me think, like, have there been multiple versions of this dude? Like when he sets the glass on the ring, and she's like, all those rings are from you. I don't know.
Oh, my mind.
Mobius is a clone in the comics, though, that literally like has identical,
like twins,
like twins, and like just millions of different people that look like him.
Yeah.
So that's actually I think you're onto something with that one too.
So I don't know, but she has a bigger part to play in this as well. And you can tell, of course, those two have had history from the first time they meet in the courtroom. And it's also, I don't know, like, all of this is interesting, man. Even when from episode 1, when he goes to meet her in court, when she's arbitrating the whole thing with Loki, obviously it's not the first time that's happened with folks. Folks have been in front of her before, but there's something with there's something special about Loki for Mobius, and I'm not sure. I feel like it's more than just the fact that he's the variant they're chasing. There's something else. There's some other reason.
He just wants to get Loki to make him a jet ski. That's it.
That's it. You're right.
He wants him to get him to make his jet ski so that he can go and be like the one dude in Tiger King at the end when he was on the jet ski. That's how he wants to be. If y'all seen Tiger King.
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. All episodes heretofurther have been canceled for Loki. Matthew Haynes has just given us the ending of the show. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like there's just a lot to peel back here.
I do have a question. A thought that I've been thinking about as we've been discussing this whole thing. I believe Mobius is becoming more and more human, even though he's not a human. Isn't that interesting? Because if you look at people like Casey, when he talks, he kind of speaks kind of like a baby, like a child. Yeah, exactly. And you brought up a good interesting thought about maybe Mobius. This is not the first Mobius. Maybe this is, at every time he's rebuilt or remade, maybe a part of him is becoming more and more human, especially as he keep going to these different timelines and meeting with different people and creating things and like discovering the thing like the gum, right? Yeah. Or the candy, or even the comments about the candy. Because if you look at the soldiers, they have no emotion really. They're just like, I'm a soldier, y'all, They don't really have any emotion, but he's like, no, this candy, you haven't lived. You ate grapes and nuts. That's nothing. That's boring. And he wants a jet ski. He has desires. If these beings were created by people, and they're supposed to be like emotionless and just kind of follow the script, why does this guy have so many emotions and so many desires?
Maybe he's a timekeeper.
Maybe he is a time.
Maybe he's just. If the guy behind the desk is a time master, I may end up in the ICU. But
maybe he's just Deadpool. That's it. He's Deadpool wearing a mask, and he's just trying to. You know what's funny? Because Deadpool actually became an agent for the TVA and the comics too. Actually,
I think I read that.
How did that not surprise me?
They actually had him, and he tried to. I think it also became a meme that Deadpool was a Nexus being. And he only uses his power to like make jokes.
Deadpool does acknowledge the existence of all the X-Men timelines, so
that is true.
If you literally mix Loki and Mobius together, you kind of have Deadpool.
In a way,
yeah, in a way, just the reality that Mobius could bring to that. But I'm not exactly sure like what Mobius's deal is quite yet. Like you said, I haven't quite figured out where he's trying to go. Like he could be trying to find a way out. He could be sparked by something that Loki is inspiring him. Loki's bringing a flare into his world. But I don't know. I feel like there might be an underlining thing with him that is going to come out at the end of this episode or end of this series, that maybe it's almost like a double cross. Maybe he started this variant of Loki that's happening right now, to kind of play into his own, agenda. I don't know. It was something I was thinking of when I watched the show last time. Does that stick in anyone's brain at all?
Maybe like, do you mean like the female Loki variant? Like maybe he started that one?
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that could make sense. Like, I mean, if like he's bored and he wants a jet ski and he wants to live in the awesome time that they freaking have jet skis, and he's just that this could be some way that he started something. I mean, that's a legit possibility of a twist they could throw at us, I think.
Well, maybe like he's been, just having these emotions for so long. Now he's decided to trigger something to kickstart and excite his life and maybe find a way out of where he's at right now. It was just a theory. Just literally, that's all that is.
But I think I do think it's a good theory though, because I mean, like I said, I do see him becoming more and more human and having human desires.
Yeah.
And having, wanting to have a way out seems, I can see that lining up in that direction. He seems to be so passionate about something. He wants to achieve something. And like you said, he might be bored. He's just, I've been doing this for a while. So I do.
But he also says he believes in it. Like he said, he believes.
But does he though?
I know. That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering that because Loki brings up good points to him about free will and all that stuff, and how we here can make choices.
Well, believing in it doesn't change the fact of it doesn't change the monotony of it. It doesn't change that aspect. You can believe in something and not devote your entire life to it.
Yeah.
So there's
100%.
that option.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of curious things that they still have yet to unveil. But,
so it's interesting. Chris from 3C Films has he did a review on it, and he has a theory that he thinks Mobius is a variant. So which is an interesting thing. Now it is. I'm not sure how I feel about that, but it is interesting when you hear Mobius say things like in the tent when Loki's speaking and Mobius makes this comment like, I've got like my ears are sharp too, like I see what's going on with you. And even the conversation that the two of them are having in the elevator when Mobius basically tells Loki, listen, I'm going to tell you whatever I need to tell you to get you to do what I want you to do. Again, like that, they almost have like a Loki type dialogue going on between them when they're talking. They almost mirror each other in terms of just kind of like the one-upsmanship of it all. I mean, they seem different enough, but there's some elements that I thought, man, well, that's an interesting theory. If he is in fact a variant as well, so no. Yeah. A lot of stuff to kind of swim around in your.
Well, this is my favorite part of movie watching, TV watching. This is my favorite part. This is what makes me love, talking about movies and entertainment and TV shows. Is this guesswork? I don't know how many times I've done this with different people, friends, my entire life. Where, I have this theory. I have this theory. I have this theory. This is so cool. Like, and this show is doing such a good job sparking so many unique conversations. Sorry if I interrupted you.
No. No, I think definitely you're right. That is the fun part about the show, really trying to figure out what is going on here. And this really speaks to Matthew's point earlier about it being a good thing where you have divergent storylines that are not exactly reflected from the comics, so that we can talk about them with some kind of meaningful and real conversation, because we don't know what's coming next. Like that's one of the reasons why I've started reading it now, but I was so glad that I knew nothing about Invincible before I watched it on Amazon Prime, because I had no idea what was coming, and it just made it
still only 4 episodes in. I got to keep going. Gosh,
so
it's great.
Yeah. No, I like it a lot, but I'm only 4 in.
So that's what you're saying, Al. I think the genius behind it. Okay, we're not talking about DC. We're not doing that, Matthew. Okay, Marvel. The beauty about I had to curb myself because of my Superman rant, so I gotta watch myself. But the beauty about Marvel and the MCU, like or what we're saying is, I think they give like nice little trinkets.
Let's go with tricklets. I just like it. It's the
Tricklets.
wrong word, but I like it. Go with
tricklets. Yes, we'll go with tricklets. They go little tricklets of of little nuggets, if you will, of comic book material. Just a little bit enough of it for you to have a basis for these elaborate conversations that we're having tonight, and these deep conversations. Not enough where you can predict everything, but just a little bit so you can just kind of have a stepping stone or a step stool to kind of just, get the conversation going.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a genius move when it comes to that. The fact that you don't know everything, and I think it's really smart, of course, from a Marvel standpoint, because number one, it gives enough to the fan base, unless you're like some of the people I talked about earlier, the complainers, I'll call them. But it gives enough of the fan base for the fan base to be excited. But it also opens the door to new people appreciating the content past what Disney Plus and the MCU is giving us. Like, it just broadens the reader base, the fan base. And they have to do that, because you're not, if you make a movie solely for the fan base, Marvel is not going to make their money. They would not be where they are today if they made movies solely for the fan base. It's just not that, it's not big enough. So
90%, I would not 90%. I would dare to say 75%. I've seen the data somewhere before. I would say 75% to 80% of Marvel fans are Disney or the MCU fans are non-comic book readers. People who don't know anything. Like, my fiance, she doesn't know anything really about the comics unless I tell her something. She got into it because just, she had a crush on Chris Evans, and she said she watched the, Captain America, First Avenger, and that was that. But a lot of people get into it because of, it's movies. They just go watch movies, and it's a good time to hang out with friends or your kids, and you don't know what's going on. People watch it and they eat it up. Well, so I definitely think the comic book fan base is a smaller majority than the audience that they're getting a lot of their sales from.
The bottom, the 50% of this live stream doesn't really dive too deep into the comic book lore. I think the bottom half of this live stream, Durbin and I know Durbin's been getting more into comics.
Mostly
lately,
DC comics, though, and mostly one branch of DC comics right now. But yeah, in terms of it, even with DC, I'm more into the movies than I am the comics. So
really,
the stuff that I know about DC comes from binging Superman, or Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. It comes from binging Smallville. It comes from the Christopher Reeve movies. It comes from little random comics I read. So I'm more of the movie guy myself.
Man, I'm more into DC comics than I am the DC movies. We're the opposite there. I think DC.
Well, and the DC animated movies, where the DC has no organization.
Those are amazing.
The DCAU is amazing, and I love the DC animated movies. So a whole other chunk of my DC knowledge comes from me just binging all of those DC. And like, I haven't watched Long Halloween Part 1 yet, but I cannot wait for both parts to drop, binge it, and I'm going to talk about it. I'm tripping.
Is that out already?
I'm not sure. So I was
supposed to react to that. I've been waiting for that.
Like Molly Williams' comment that the movies got her into the comic books. That's
for you, Durbin. Sorry, sorry, Stevie.
No, you're fine. That's something that my son is doing right now. All these movies that we watched over the years, and specifically the Marvel Cinematic Universe, has got him into reading comic books. Now he's reading comic books, and he's like, "Oh, well, did you know this happens? Did you know this happens?" And I'm like, "No, I don't." But thank you for telling me. But it's. I think the MCU, like, hinting at these little nuggets or trinklets or whatever we're calling them.
Trinklets.
Tricklets.
Tricklets.
That's what it was. Tricklets.
I'm coining it.
Somebody start the wiki.
Yeah, I think the MCU is starting to these little tricklets, for the comic book fan, for the moviegoers. It's really building this bridge for people from comic books to enjoy cinema more and accept change, and vice versa. People who like cinema going into comic books. I think it's a beautiful thing.
That was me as a kid, actually. When I think I mentioned it the last stream, but Spider-Man Tobey Maguire was the first superhero film that I saw, early 2000s, and that got me into comic books. That movie made me so like, oh, because I never saw Spider-Man before that, and I was like, whoa, this is cool. And luckily, my grandfather happens to be a huge comic book nerd to this day. He has a bunch of the old, action comics from the 50s. He had in the 60s. He has a bunch of the old glory stuff. And I read he had a whole bunch of Spider-Man stuff, Spectacular Spider-Man stuff. And I read that as a kid. He's an OG.
He's action comics. He's an
action
OG.
comics. Oh yeah, he still has a whole bunch of them. And I read the original Spider-Man comic books from him, and that's kind of what kickstarted my whole comic book journey. But it all stemmed from a movie.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's part of the fun. Like if you see something like if you enjoy a movie, let's take Lance's comment about Batman, and you watch the Christopher Nolan stuff, which is really an offshoot of like Frank Miller's rendition of a darker Batman, and then you started reading the comics. It really kind of like rounds off stuff for you. Even after you've seen the movie, if you go back and start reading the comics, now you really understand more facets of the character. You're like, wow, so then you're really looking forward to more to come. And if anything, I feel like for those that kind of rage against it and say, well, it's not true, it's not canon, or it's not true to fandom, that the movies accentuate how much you can enjoy something and then transition to what's on the page and outside of the screen. It doesn't have to be kind of like this, well, we hate all things that are not canon. Sorry, I was about to go there. See, I was about to go there again.
It's such a great place to go. It really is.
You know what, Al? I'm going to have to invite you on my channel or Durbin on his channel so you can rant and not worry. Like, you seem so concerned. Like,
Al,
Al,
you're welcome on my channel too, man.
Yeah, I just want you to get this out, man.
Me too.
You're boiling pot right now.
Al, this is your community. This is your page. You gotta feel comfortable with speaking your truth.
That's right.
Hint our conversation.
Right, you know what? I feel like I gotta do a stand, because if I start ranting, I might as well let the rest of you guys go and go full screen and just have at it, because it's just
But you can make any one of us individually go full screen on StreamYard.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
How do you not know that?
I don't know how to do it. Stevie's got to tell me how to do it, but I think I can click on it.
Don't you just got to click on the face or something like that? Isn't that how you do it?
Let's see if we can make Durbin's beautiful mug full screen. Stevie?
Again, it's hard for me to visualize when I'm not the controller of the studio, because I don't have the same options in front of me.
I mean, Stevie, that doesn't help me, man. I need you ready, man.
Okay, well, how about this? Take everyone out of the stream, except for Durbin. That should work.
Experimenting live.
That's a little too much work for me, Stevie. I can't. I can't.
Al, I want to piggyback off of something you said.
Okay.
About that whole comic book thing. I think it's a very important. Anyone that's watching this, I want you to please consider my opinion highly. Consider it. We got a super chat.
Yay! Thank you, NB. ITV family, way back from Into the Badlands days.
Nice.
Thank you, NB. Love it. Sorry, Matthew.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, okay. What we have to understand and accept, I think, again, I will preface, this is just my opinion. You don't gotta live like me. You don't gotta talk like me. You don't gotta drink the same water I drink. But when it comes to comic book knowledge and movies and understanding that, it's great to absorb all of the source material, because on the page, on the ink, you can do so many things that you may not be able to do on screen at that moment, right? But there's just so many things you can do, and it's great to accept all that. But that's the thing, you just have to accept it as that. Yeah. And and you have to search up the word adaptation. They always say this in the beginning, based on Marvel comic books, not recreating the Marvel comic books,
Or
or
what about based on a true story?
Based on a true
but we're gonna
story.
add 60 other things in here to make it more interesting.
Exactly. And that's the thing. People they seem to forget about this stuff, that this is based on a story, that this is an adaptation of that story. It's an adaptation. So, don't think too hard about it. Don't be disappointed if you don't get what you want, because this is what, yes, you may not like it. I didn't like, as you guys are calling it, fan four stick. Is that what you guys are calling it? I didn't like it. I personally did not like it. All right. But I didn't go and say, oh man, you guys didn't do the source material the way that I read it. Fantastic Four. I'm like, I didn't like it, and I just didn't watch it again. I still haven't seen it again. I know, Stevie. I know you like it, and I respect that opinion.
Conceptually, I like it. The movie is kind of a crap
either
show,
way,
but conceptually,
the point is, I respect your opinion to have that option to like it, and for the reasons you like it. And that's the thing. People don't get to that point when it comes to, especially with discrepancies on the movies. Like Al may have a great point. Like he might love the movie, and I just didn't like something that they did in the movie, and I would prefer they did in the comic books. But people fail to meet in the middle and say, you know what, it's okay that you like that, and it's okay that I didn't like it, but I'm not going to be mad that it didn't come out the way that I wanted it to. It's not always about you.
No, well, a lot of people are just sitting back and waiting to respond. They're not listening to what is making
that's true too.
That is what is making that other person think that way, or why they have that opinion. You don't have to agree with someone, and this goes with all conversations, but even in the movie and comic book world and adaptation world, you don't have to agree with something, but at least listen to somebody and figure out why they agree with it, or why they think that way, or why they where they derive their opinion. Again, you don't have to agree with it. Just know that now about that person, and you can take that, put it in your head, and use that to communicate with that person and communicate with other people. Well, I also know this person thinks this, and you think that, and I think this. Wow, we have all different views. Absorbing people's information and being observant to people's reasonings is very important.
I think it's okay to be angry too, though. I think it's okay to be angry because it's a human emotion. We get angry for things, but I think the key thing too is respect, like mutual respect. Right. It's okay to be angry that someone that you wanted to be in a film wasn't there, or a character. It's okay to be angry because we're humans. We gotta be angry. If you're not angry at all in your life, then I'm gonna question something. Even the greatest Buddhist that I know a really good one, very peaceful dude. Sometimes he gets angry, but he keeps it in check because it's a human emotion. So the thing is, you just gotta you have to be on the same level of respecting people and respecting certain things. I think that's the key.
For instance,
about the
Batman
entire
and Robin
stuff
is a movie that makes me angry, but I respect Stevie for loving it.
But that's how it should be.
I never said I loved Batman and Robin. I gave that movie an F in my review. What do you call me out for, bro?
But that's how it should be, though, man. Like, look, man, I like Green Lantern. I know everybody hates it, but I like Green Lantern.
I'm lukewarm on it. I don't hate it. I don't love it.
I hated it.
But that's okay. We should be able to laugh at it, and that's how it should be. Like this.
I love Sharknado. Brilliant.
Okay, Durbin, where to go? How do I get Durbin off of here?
What? For loving Sharknado? Have you not watched those masterpieces?
Sharknado was meme. It should be in the Hall of Memes.
Yes, it should. It should.
Where Durbin should be angry with me at is the fact that I gave, and maybe you guys will too, in my Superman review series, I gave my favorite Christopher Reeve Superman is Superman 3.
Oh, Lord.
Yep.
Where's the eject button?
Yeah, you need to get that going, Al.
Oh, he's testing my statement. Let's see it in action.
Matthew's fighting to hold on to that respect. Hold on to that respect.
No, I you know what's crazy? I think I've come to a point in my life where I genuinely, like, if you don't agree with me, I've come to, I used to get so mad when people didn't agree with me. I used to be so mad. He's like, man, you don't agree with me. And I would try to get every single way to prove, to get them to agree with me. But, and I used to get so mad at that and they would just go along their merry way. And I'm going to bed. He didn't agree with me. But now it's like, if you don't agree with me, it's all good, because that's the beauty of humanity, man.
That's
not going to agree.
That's called wisdom, Matthew. It's called wisdom.
Well, and guys, I want to make sure we answer Lisa's question, but I just want to make a comment on this real quickly. And it's a really interesting thing too. You're right, Matthew, because everybody just having their own opinion and everybody having mutual respects. And that's one of the things that, like, I try to say on Dark Side Reviews. I really don't care what you share, especially like if we are having an issue that's a little bit of a hot button issue. The only thing I ever ask the Darksiders to do is to be respectful of someone else's opinion. And if you have issue with what they said, then you can put that in the comments. But the personal attacks are crazy. For what? Number one, you don't know these people. So the personal attacks are not okay. Anyway, that said, I will say this though, and I'm sorry, but when and I feel like it's just me also kind of representing a lot of the folks in the dark side community also, because a lot of them are not comic book readers. They watch the movies and they enjoy the things. And I'll be daggone if I'm going to let some Yahoo that considers himself a comic book guru, the creme de la creme of comic book readers, come on and smash people who are not comic book readers. I will not let it stand. That's how I feel about that.
Let them know, Bishop. Let them know, Bishop. Let them know.
Sorry,
let them know.
Got a little bit of the righteous anger flowing right now.
Yes. Let him use you, Bishop.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I thought he was about to get on to me about the Superman 3 comment.
No. Superman 3 is pretty bad, but now you're my guy, Stevie. I can't do that. So,
all right, so Lisa's comment.
Yes, right? Lisa's comment. So she asked, comparing Loki with WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, what do you guys think? I guess, Lisa, that comment is a question about what we like best about that. I'll go last. Someone else can jump in first about.
Okay. Where do you all rate Loki compared to WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier? Well, we discussed this in our first live stream last week, but Loki out of the gate compared to the other two shows hooked me.
Yep.
Like just from the get-go. WandaVision was curious. It had a very curious concept, but like mid of the third episode, I'm like, okay, come on, let's go. Let's get this going. Like I get the point. Where's the story? And Falcon and Winter Soldier was a decent watch. It took a couple episodes for me to really get into it, but now I don't really remember it. Like it doesn't stick in my brain.
And that much of an impact, huh?
Right. Just no real impact on me. But Loki so far has had a really good impact, and I have a bearing with it. Like it takes place right after Endgame. Like I know where to pick up from and something to attach it to in continuity. So that's how that's where I compared Loki with the other two Marvel shows. So
if I was going to rank it worst to best, which I kind of hate that phrasing sometimes because I like them all, but if I was going to rank it worst to best, number 3, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Number 2, WandaVision. And with just 2 episodes, at number 1 is Loki. For everything Steve said, it's just, I had to warm up to the other ones. It's not that I hated them, but there was more of a warm-up process. This one caught me right out of the gate. It was like match to gasoline. It just exploded for me.
Yeah, for me, I would agree with that list, actually. But I will say, though, I am considering the fact, though, that both WandaVision, Wanda and Vision, and, specifically Sam, all needed more development.
Yes.
Than we got in the movies. So I will consider that. Loki, we had him since OG, since like the third MCU movie or fourth MCU movie that he was introduced. Or what's the second movie? I don't remember in the order now in my head. But we had Loki since way back, since when it was on their Paramount. Right? So we've had Loki since
Avengers. Then
we've had so much time with Loki. So, they don't need to go through all that as they would say in Guyana, hoopgala, right?
Yeah.
You don't need to go through
Good
all
point.
of that stuff with Loki. But Sam specifically I would consider his, if anybody disagrees, that's fine. But for me, I did consider him in the movies more of like a cameo role or like a side character role. And which is why we would see in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I would say it leaned more towards Sam than it did Bucky, because Bucky also had a literal whole movie dedicated to him and about him. The Winter Soldier, it's his name.
Yeah.
In there is about him, how he got to that point. We saw him in First Avenger. So we had some good development for him too. This show was more or less tying off loose ends with his character. For me, like where do we stand now? Where does he stand now? Post Endgame, post Infinity War. Where does Bucky stand? So, I mean, considering all of those things, I wasn't as harsh on it, I would say. As there was like, no, man, I need 5 episodes. No. But I do agree with your ranking, though. If I'm being honest, I definitely put Falcon and Winter Soldier third. I would put WandaVision second, because that one had me, I would say, the most excited between the two of them, and definitely Loki at number 1. That was a little bit long, but yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think I'm harsh on Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I do enjoy it. It's just, if I'm being honest in my ranking, that's my ranking.
I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I would have the rankings very similar to the rest of you guys. It's just that at this point, I don't know, man. Like I vacillate back and forth between WandaVision and Falcon and Loki.
Loki legitimizes WandaVision even more, doesn't it? It just adds more to it.
I think it does, but like when I think about what I liked best, I'm thinking about the creativity in storytelling, and that's why the two of them go back and forth for me, because I like the creativity in the storytelling, and I especially like the visual creativity in the storytelling between Loki and WandaVision. Falcon and the Winter Soldier is much more of a grounded story, and I like how they told that story. Some of the Darksiders know not all the Darksiders agree with me here, but I like the social issues that they touched in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But in terms of story build and creativity of literally like the world building and the crafting of the story, especially from a visual standpoint, I go back and forth. Like I thought WandaVision, the whole creation of the town and how they travel through those different points in time, and how all of that visually was wrapped around kind of the nucleus story of her dealing with her grief, while at the same time unveiling the Wanda that I wish we had seen in the movies. Like that to me is very, very impactful. I almost feel the same way visually about Loki, how we have this blend, kind of like this rustic or these antiquated elements in Loki mixed with this advanced technology. So I go back and forth between them. But story-wise, between Loki and WandaVision, so far, I like WandaVision's story better, if that makes any sense. So I would rank them WandaVision at this point, or at least today, WandaVision, Loki, and then Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So
I can't talk today. Thinking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, it reminds me a little bit of the feel and grittiness, not as gritty, but as of the Netflix Marvel series, like Luke Cage, Daredevil, Punisher, in terms of like a more grounded hero story, instead of it being too extravagant, not too much visual stuff going on. Even though I did watch some behind the scenes stuff, the shield stuff with some serious VFX going on with the shield throwing and all that stuff. They did a lot of CGI work with that, and they did it well.
I gotta check that out.
You gotta check it out. It's amazing how they even tracked the movements to when I think Industrial Light helped with this one, when they would hit, when he was in the training sequence and it hit the wood stump out in the ocean or the river,
and then came right back.
But if you look at it closely, you'll see a little indentation and some slight dust that falls off of it. The attention to detail that they put in the CGI for the shield, it was amazing. That alone in itself is just amazing. But I'm just saying it reminds me more of like the Netflix kind of shows.
Yeah, it kind of did. Yeah, it did. And I love, I only
a more
love one of
PG
those
a more
Netflix
PG
shows.
version.
Daredevil. That was like the best of those Netflix shows. And
people love
no
Daredevil.
other came close.
My favorite Netflix show was Luke Cage, and really for the reason I love Luke Cage is, again, any show that is able to world build and capture a point in time very well. I just appreciate that. It's one of the things, even though it's a dystopian show, I loved about Into the Badlands. How they built that world was just like crazy to me. So Luke Cage, the way it captures that 70s vibe, but from everything, even from like the color grading to the type of music, to the costume design.
Well, that theme song was like my favorite out of those.
Yeah.
I like the hallway fight scenes in Daredevil. Like the one-shot hallway fights and stuff like that.
The one shots. I mean, that season 3, I think episode 3 or something like that. The one shot was like 15 minutes long. It was insane.
Yeah, no, that was really good. That was really good, and I was impressed by that. Any kind of long fight shot, I'm impressed with. That's why I to this day, man, what they did with Iron Fist, it hurts my heart.
Yeah. Plus, and take like me from the theological side, and I do this theological analyses on my channel. Daredevil wrestling with his faith as he's a hero, doing what he does. Yeah. That stuff draws me in so much. And then especially season 3, they got heavy with it, and it was so good. Yeah.
Yeah. That's an interesting thing, because that's kind of been to a little bit of a lesser extent thematic with him all the way through the comic books, and that's what makes that character interesting.
Yeah.
So, it's his faith, struggling between faith versus I don't know, I guess justice.
Well, he reminds me of Job. I mean, he's been through hell, and he can't figure out why he's been through hell. He's trying to bring justice to the world, and then season 3, we just really see him questioning everything, kind of like Job. It's an incredibly interesting season of Daredevil. So, I mean, I love it. I mean, I love all 3 seasons, and they just increase his wrestle with faith, with the violence he's doing in the streets. It's so well written. That's why I love that. Plus, it's hard to beat that villain. Oh my gosh.
Someone Kingpin?
Kingpin. Yeah, that dude freaked me out, man. And there's a dude crazy at my church who looks so much like Kingpin. Me and my friend were scared of him, and we're being super nice to him. Like on Cookie Sunday, we always came and brought him extra cookies so that he wouldn't bash our head in a car door.
Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah, I love that guy. He's so good.
I used to have a preacher that looked exactly like Peter Griffin.
Oh, really?
I met that preacher. I remember that. I've been there too.
Yeah, you have. That's right.
Yes. Sorry, go on, guys. Let's move on.
Envy talked about Jessica Jones. I will say this about Jessica Jones. What I loved about Jessica Jones in season 1 was the villain, Purple Man.
Yes,
literally terrified me. He terrified the mess out of me.
To take away your free will.
Oh my gosh. Psychological villains always get me so much, because I love villains that just use their brain and they're just kind of like manipulation in a way to kind of control people instead of actually using brute force. And if you think about Cottonmouth too, from Luke Cage, a very similar thing to him, just kind of being like a Don.
But didn't they kill him off really early?
That's the part that
made me sad. I didn't like that. I did not like that part. I liked his villain.
The voodoo guy, I keep forgetting his name. He was interesting. I remember him from the comic books. I keep forgetting his name, though. He was interesting.
I agree with you, Durbin. Just the way that Mahershala Ali played that role was just, man, I would have loved to have seen.
They didn't pay him enough to go more than those episodes.
Is that what happened?
No, I'm making a joke. I don't think. I don't know. No, I don't know if that's what it was.
In which case, they need to pay that dude tons more money. Gosh.
Yeah, he was good. You know what else was good, man? But they couldn't put it on Disney Plus. The Punisher. Oh man, I didn't think I would like the Punisher as much as I did. You didn't like it?
I love Punisher in season 2 of Daredevil. To me, that was the height of it. Yes. I thought season 1 was so freaking boring. And then season 2, I think they did a better job going back and making him the Punisher, but it never recaptured how awesome he was in Daredevil, because I love it was the Superman Batman thing, better than Batman v Superman, where Daredevil would not kill, but Punisher was all about, no, if you don't kill, like the whole competition of ideologies, like it was incredible.
What did you guys think about Defenders?
Oh, no, I was just going to piggyback what Durbin said.
Yeah.
And I was just going to say that I was just telling somebody the other day that Punisher to me is like one of the top tier introductions of a character in Daredevil. Like it like the episode that he showed up was so incredible. You knew this guy was not to be reckoned with. That's all I was going to say. Please, Matthew, continue.
No, I was just asking if you guys how'd you feel about Defenders?
I thought it was fine.
It was awful.
But, well, here's my problem. It was both too long and too short. I cannot believe they made it 3 episodes shorter than the rest of the other shows and yet took too long to get to the point. There was a lot of fun. Like, for instance, when you have Iron Fist was a better character interacting off the other heroes. And I enjoyed seeing them interact together. But I don't understand how they managed this feat of it being too short and too long at the same time.
Poor writing.
Yes.
Literally, that's all it boils down to. Because the action was great.
Yeah, no, and they had a hallway fight scene with all of the heroes. And I was like,
hey, look,
oh.
The choreo for the fights, I think, okay, I won't say the best because season 1 of Daredevil was amazing.
Yeah.
But I would say it's up there because they had, like he said, some really cool hallway scenes and they kind of like piggybacked off of each other. And I think Iron Fist got a little bit more character development than he did in his own show. Yeah. In this one, you know, and you know, so the whole thing with they even mentioned with him fighting the dragon and all that stuff and elaborated on it more. But I don't know. I think it was a great concept that was just, like you said, too long, too short, and poorly written.
Yeah. Kind of what Steve said about Fan 4 Stick. The concept was good.
Yeah.
And there was some really good stuff in it. The execution was not what it should have been.
Steve, you were about to say something before I jump in. I don't want to cut you off.
No.
I guess I'm definitely in the minority because I thought the Defenders was bad too. And part of it, to me, the way that they brought them together wasn't good. And part of it is also I still had the sickness from seeing Iron Fist. I
went back and forth on Iron Fist so much. One of the things I love about Iron Fist, so take away the actual guy who plays Iron Fist for just 1 second. The martial arts is awesome. Like I love good fighting, and I enjoyed that, but the story was weak and he was way too whiny.
So I agree with that, but except for the martial arts. The martial arts was horrible for me.
You're also a martial artist, right?
Yeah, but
yeah. I do.
Did you like the martial arts in Daredevil though, Al? What did you think of that?
The martial arts in Daredevil was better. And for those who are hanging out with me, and Matthew, you've seen some episodes of Into the Badlands, but like the Dark Side community, we're used to Into the Badlands level martial arts.
Yes.
Like that's what.
So you like Ip Man then, right? You must love the Ip Man. Yeah. I love those movies.
Look,
I love those movies.
As also a practitioner of the martial arts, Krav Maga is more of my specialty, and Shotokan. Those are my 2 areas. Jiu-jitsu, I know you do jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, I had 2. My instructors were on.
I'm just trying to get my foot into it, but never really dived into it.
So much fun.
Oh, I want to try it someday. I had to drop off a few more pounds, but
you're from a martial. I was gonna say you're good because I'm a big guy too. Big guys have their advantages too. I hope nobody from my school was seeing this because I'll be in trouble when I get on the mat again.
Judo too for big guys are also really good too. But weight distribution, Aikido, and all that. But from someone who does martial arts as well, like watching, I will have to say I agree with you on some of the fronts. I did like, again, a lot of the action in the Defenders I thought were good. I think the martial arts in Iron Fist was also very good. The choreography was somewhat okay. I think the best thing I would really say is definitely Ip Man. Any movie from Akira Kurosawa. And because, Shotokan, the Japanese stuff, that's more my thing. I like that. But yeah, man, I get where you're coming from by having a certain high expectation of the way you're used to seeing people fight. Like you look at people like Donnie Yen and all those other great martial artists that do such a great job. And then
he's going to be in John Wick 4, by the way. Sorry, Matthew.
Oh, yeah. I heard about that the other day.
I am so excited about that. Oh, my gosh. But little do you all know, I also know some martial arts.
Really?
I have a green belt in Taekwondo that I have not practiced since I was 18 years old. But the point is I did it once and I got the 3rd lowest belt you could get.
There you go.
I went to high school with you. How did I not know that you were in Taekwondo?
Okay, I did it my senior year after you were graduated during that period where we weren't connected. That's when that happened. It was my senior year.
is the best answer. Thank you.
Yep.
Sorry, Matt. I'm sorry, Matthew. After we cut you off.
Yeah, we did. I'm
No,
sorry.
no,
Go
no.
ahead.
You did. No, look. I cut
Yeah,
a lot of people off all the time, so it's okay if I get cut off. It's totally fine. No, I'm not upset by that at all.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that I loved about Into the Badlands. We've talked about different forms of martial arts. My black belt is in a martial art called Ten Shin Pei, which is a form of Kung Fu. I have a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, even though I perform like a white belt.
Don't mess with Al. Oh my gosh.
But I love and that's why I love like the stuff like with Ip Man and the stuff we would see in Into the Badlands. And if you like go back and look at some of the interviews we had with Daniel Wu, and he would talk about how Into the Badlands had a mix of really everything in it, but that kind of dynamic movement. So I would tell you guys like what bothers me with fight choreo, and when you know like okay, these actors can't pull this off. Number one is if they shroud it in darkness. And there's a million cutscenes. So yeah, exactly. And there's a million cutscenes. Then you're like, okay, like this, the actor cannot pull this off. And the good thing about Daredevil is you didn't need the main actor. You put a mask on him, and you just get a guy that could do the stuff. So
I don't know if it was the actor or not, and I don't even care. I don't think it was. Hallway scenes in all 3 seasons are mind-bogglingly good.
Yeah, I have a sidebar completely like different. Well, not different, but it's not related to Marvel. But it's for a question for Al. A statement for Al. I want to see your reaction. Even though I love Ip Man, I don't think Wing Chun is a functional form of martial arts.
So here,
I think it's good for workouts, but
when I see Donnie Yen do it, I'm not going to mess with him.
So
I mean, look.
That
Kung Fu, I think, has a lot more weight over true Kung Fu has a more weight over Wing Chun, in my opinion. It's an off-color statement, but I want to hear your reaction to it.
No, so that's an interesting question because I've had this conversation with like different martial arts practitioners, and there's a line in Ip Man. I'll say that first, and then I'll respond further. Where Ip Man says to the other guy, the guy that challenges him in his house. And Donnie Yen says to the guy, it's not about styles, it's about you. That's my first response to that. So I think any kind of martial art is effective, and it really doesn't matter. It matters 2 things. It matters one, how you practice it, because there's 2 ways to practice any kind of martial arts. You can be a competition guy. And if you practice in the way and you practice just for competition, it's not going to be functional on the street because competition has rules. And if you get used to practicing your martial arts with rules, you will fight how you practice. That's the way I was always taught. You'll fight how you practice. Number 2, it's the practitioner. So if you are an Aikido guy and I'm a Kung Fu guy, but I just kind of did it casually. I did it for sport, but you're practicing Aikido like in case you and your lady are at the restaurant and somebody gets out of pocket and you got to go to town, then you're gonna win. Whoever is the better practitioner, no matter what the martial art is going to be the one that comes out on top. So I say that to say I think any form is functional. It just depends on how you practice the martial art and whether you practice it really for self-defense or you practice it as kind of competition martial arts. Because those are
even Tai Chi though.
So let me tell you something interesting about Tai Chi, and I wish Sean was on when I got my black belt.
Hey guys, I'm going to step off for a quick second. I have to use the restroom real fast. So
okay. So when I got my black belt, the last person I fought, we do a round robin, kind of a round robin when you're getting your black belt. So you're in the middle and you have people circling you, and Master Brown would call out a number. So we might say 3 and 5. So you got 3 and 5 coming at you at the same time. So you're fighting multiple people. Cool. The last person I fought was Shifu Sean, and he hit me with an open palm. Matthew, my hands just dropped. My hands were up. He hit me with an open palm somewhere near my liver. My hands dropped, and then he kicked to my head, and he stopped the kick. And I asked him after that. I was like, dude, I don't know, like, what did you do to me? Because it shut me completely down. And he said, oh, it was a modified Tai Chi move. But it wasn't
Tai
this.
Chi.
It wasn't slow. It was a very fast movement, but it was an open palm movement. And my hands were up and they literally, and then he kicked.
Wow.
That's like, that I think that's also what drew me to like, Krav Maga specifically. Even though it's a little some issues with that specific fighting style, I love the fact that it can be creative in a way. Or if you even look at Karate Kid, I love Karate Kid in a funny way, just because it's like even sweeping a broom can be turned into a move.
Mm-hmm.
So now that you mentioned that, if you really think about it, you can pretty much turn anything into a good move once you know where the power is coming from, how you're going to utilize it, and where it's going.
And if you're John Wick, you can use a pencil to take out several people.
That's true. I mean, like going to the competition stuff, I never did any competitions. I was more of a the way I was trained was more of for street, for survival, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I never participated in any competition, so I've got punched in the face real bad. Some real, like, I think because my dad also did Shotokan, and we spar often, and I remember getting kicked really bad one time behind the head. Certain things, certain moves that would be illegal in the competition scene. Going back to that point you were making earlier.
Yep.
But then again, on the flip side, you take a street guy who learned martial arts, who is still doing martial arts specifically for self-defense, and goes into the competition scene. Yeah, I don't know. I think I might lose. Just simply because certain moves, like in Krav Maga, we're like, eye gouging and like, choke, hitting people right here in their throats, all kind of very violent stuff that you can't do in competition.
No. Yeah, no, that's exactly
Shotokan
right.
too.
Yeah, I mean, I can think of like some of the stuff that I've learned I couldn't do in competition, and it's nothing fancy. Like my brother would always ask me about kicks. I would tell you, because I'm a bigger guy, I would never probably try and kick to someone's head, and for reasons that I don't want to get my leg caught. So a lot of kicks are lower kicks. There's a kick that intention pie we call a dragon kick, and it's a very low kick, and it's to the front or the side of the knee. And it's literally designed to push the knee back or push it out. It is a very deceptive kick. Oh. It's not a fancy kick, but it is designed to stop the fight, because you can't fight if you can't stand. So,
the illegal kick in Karate Kid.
Yeah. I mean, it's something like, but that's what I'm talking. So if you're talking about self-defense,
Stevie's ready to return. He just messaged me.
Okay, sorry, sorry, Steve.
That was a good conversation. Keep it going.
So if you're talking about self-defense, or you're talking about something like putting your finger in somebody's eyes, if I'm in a self-defense situation, I am not trying to be nice. If I am in a situation where I am forced to fight, and it will be forced to fight, I'm not going to fight because you call me this or you call me. You can say my mom is this, your mom, my mom is all of that. But if I have to fight, this is my motto. If I have to fight, and this is kind of how we were trained, I'm going to hurt you, because you put me in a place where now you've made me fight.
Yes, I was taught to de-escalate before trying to and misdirect before actually trying to get into a fight. That is what I've learned throughout the years and still learning, because like you said, you do something, especially if you know what you're doing, to an untrained fighter, and you know what you're doing, you get into that situation, you will use every single resource you have up here and in your body to take that person down, because you're trained to do that, but you're also trained to not get into it. But you push me and you're putting my me in danger, my family in danger. That's a different story. You got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Anyway,
well, fellas, listen. Your martial arts training is amazing. They're great stories. But I can trump both of you. I've been personally trained by Chuck Norris.
Oh.
Wait,
when did that happen? I've known you for 20 years. When did that happen?
Over.
Oh, Durbin, that was before you met me. I grew up in Dallas, Texas, right when Walker, Texas Ranger was on, and I was taking Taekwondo. My sensei played a bad guy in an episode of Walker, Texas Ranger.
Nice.
So he had Chuck Norris come to our dojo and teach us So just a one class thing, like it was just how it worked out. So I am the only one trained by Chuck Norris here. Just letting you all know.
Wow.
That's fair. Automatic win.
Yeah.
I did.
that's it.
Al, we all. I mean, whoever wants to talk martial arts, we definitely got to talk off screen because this can be a forever conversation. Because
Yeah.
I got lots
You
of
know what I
questions. for
love?
you.
I love that we trailed from Daredevil to Daredevil Netflix shows to Donnie Yen to your guys' practice of martial arts. It was epic, and I enjoyed it. And I know not to mess with any of you.
And now we've got like comments flowing and comments in the martial they're talking about martial arts in the comments now too. Sorry, you guys, we got a little off track, but you know how it is. We're flowing with stuff. So
It's partially my fault, guys. Tell
it's
Al not to
Matthew's
bring me
fault.
back.
That's
Yeah.
right. He owns it. I won't
It
take
is.
any responsibility for it.
No, it's definitely my fault. I asked the question that led to this whole conversation.
So Loki, they bombed the timeline, and now there's branches everywhere. Discuss.
Oh, Durbin, I love you.
I know. I'm so wonderful.
Yeah, man. So at any you know what, guys, I'm looking at our runtime. We're at 2 hours and almost 30 minutes. So
That just means we're 2 hours and 30 minutes of sheer epicness. But yeah.
absolutely. Well, anyway, you guys, let's get ready to wrap. I do want to give a heads up. Next week, I will not be on. Unfortunately, my niece has a dance recital. 2 of my nieces have a dance recital, so Uncle Al has to be there.
Always important.
Also, I wanted to put this in front of you guys. If you guys, I'd be more than happy to continue this stream, continue connecting. I don't know what your schedules are like, and it does not have to be on my channel. It can be on someone else's channel too. So if you guys want to do that, if look over your schedules, whatever, if it permits, just let me know.
I'm totally game.
So
yeah, me too.
I'm open for it once the schedules work out.
Yeah. I mean, I'm open pretty much now. My last day of work was today, so I have the whole summer off now. I don't have to go back until like August 23rd or something like that. So, I'm free. But I know next week I'll be at the dance recital, so I won't be able to jump on unless
we
you
don't even
guys
have to do it Friday. We could do it Saturday, Thursday.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, but I just want to make sure like we're spreading the love, so it doesn't have to be here, and I'll just make sure to promote it over on the Dark Side channel if we meet somewhere else. Also, shout out to General. I just want to say this too. He put up a comment. I read it, General, but I didn't post it. I know that there are forms of Russian martial arts that are very aggressive as well. I've never practiced them,
I don't want to do that. Oh Lord.
So yeah,
they don't play over there.
I broke a board with my foot. Talk about aggressive.
There you go.
I broke my foot with a board.
Oh,
something was aggressive there.
See, Durbin, you tried to one up Stevie, but you can't do it.
And
but did you break your foot and the board?
See,
I didn't do that. It's just a question.
I just don't want to talk about it anymore.
All right, you guys, we are Darksiders. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yes, thank you
for hanging out. You guys are awesome, man. We love you all. Stay with us. Stay tuned. Make sure you check out the channels for these guys. They are in the description box below. Notifications, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you hit the bells on all these channels so that you do not miss things. And we will see you guys on the next stream. All right, everybody. Peace.
Love, peace, and hair grease.